Welcome to Mount Diablo Unified School District Board Meeting, March 24th, 2021. Trustee Alas, would you like to explain the translation button?
Hola a todos, si buscan traducción para esta junta de esta noche, pueden buscar abajo donde hay un globo que dice interpretación y ahí va a escoger el idioma que uno quiere, inglés o español, y ahí va a poder oír la junta esta noche.
Muchas gracias. All right, so welcome everyone. Apologies for the delay. We're still getting adjusted to the new boardroom in person here, but I believe all our technology is now working. So it is, we're beginning this meeting at 6:13 p.m. and we'll start with our Pledge of Allegiance, which we have a flag for. Here we go. I don't know which way to look. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. Okay, now we'll go on to roll call. Trustee Alas.
Here.
Vice President Mason.
Here.
Trustee McFerrin.
Thanks for being available, period. If there's no question.
Jennifer Sachs, could you please mute? Thank you. Trustee McFerrin, did we get you? Yes. Trustee Nzewi.
Here.
And Trustee Mayo.
Here.
All right, and I'm also here, so all board members are present. Thank you very much. All right, so item 6.2, review and potential approval of the agenda. Did we have any changes or a motion to approve? No changes. All right.
I will make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Trustee Mason.
Second.
All right, motion by Trustee Mason, second by Trustee Mayo. We'll put that to a vote. Trustee Mason?
Yes.
Trustee Mayo?
Yes.
Oh, Trustee Alas?
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi?
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 and our agenda is set. Thank you very much. All right, so report out from closed session. Let me find my notes here, my goodness. Oh. There we go. Okay, so item 7.1, negotiations. The board may discuss negotiations or provide direction to its representatives regarding represented employees pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. Agency negotiators, Dr. Adam Clark, Dr. John Rubio, Dr. Lisa Gonzalez, Dr. Wendy Aguili, Jennifer Sachs, Dr. Dan Scudero, and legal counsel. Agencies Medea, DMA, MDSPA, CSEA, CST Local 1, and Teamsters Local 856. We received information. Item 7.2, there was no information or action on item 7.2. Item 7.3, the hearing on appeal of complaint determination number 21-1, AR 1312.1 and AR 1312.3. On this, the motion to approve the findings was approved with unanimously with a 5-0 vote. Item 7.4, hearing on appeal of complaint determination number 21-2, AR 1312.1, AR 1312.3. Also, the motion to approve the findings was approved with a 5-0 yes vote. Item 7.5, hearing on appeal of complaint determination number 21-3, AR 1312.1, AR 1312.3. The motion to approve the findings was approved with a yes vote, a unanimous yes vote of 5-0. Item 7.6, the conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9, Nell v. Mount Diablo Unified School District, Superior Court Case number C18-00609. The motion to approve the settlement was approved with a yes vote, 5-0. Item 7.7, conference with negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. Agency negotiators Sharice Cound and Cesar Alvarado, unrepresented employee chief business officer. Information was provided. All right. That takes us to 8.0, public comment. 8.1, public comment. The public may address the board regarding any item within the jurisdiction of the Board of Education of the Mount Diablo Unified School District. These presentations are limited to 3 minutes each, or a total of 30 minutes for all speakers, or the 3-minute limit may be shortened. If there are multiple speakers on any one subject, the public comment period may be moved to the end of the meeting, and speakers are not allowed to yield their time. So, do we have public comments this evening?
Good evening, Board President Cound. Yes, a maximum of 10 have registered and will be present to speak this evening. But I'll take it from here for this item. As
Very good,
we
thank you.
know, you're welcome. As we know, public comments can be submitted in 2 forms. If you'd like to look at the instructions, we have them posted at mdusd.org/board meetings. And of course, just to recap, one method is to email boardcomments@mdusd.org, and emails that are sent to that email address are automatically distributed to each board member. Alternatively, if you pre-registered by sending an email to publiccomments@mdusd.org, then here in the meeting, you can leave a real-time public comment. Now, because the chat is disabled, the procedure tonight, I'll ask that any who wish to speak and who have pre-registered to go ahead and use the hand raising function by interacting with the menu at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Raise your hand if you'd like to leave a comment. And I believe that we are limiting comments to the 3-minute maximum as posted on the agenda. So I see 3 hands raised. We'll go ahead and start. First with Sarah Katsikas, moving next to Walter Eckelbar. So first, Sarah, go ahead.
Good evening, thank you. And good evening to the board and Dr. Clark. Contra Costa Health Services latest press release issued and updated on 3/20, which was titled Student Spacing in the Classrooms, says it all. And the announcement, was the same announcement from the CDC last week, announced coincidentally on the same day that the MOU was ratified and voted into place, that our local health agency and the CDC strongly recommend at least 3 feet of spacing between students, and even citing a review of a Massachusetts public school system that included over 500,000 students and nearly 100,000 staff found that student spacing of less than 6 feet can be instituted without impacting student or staff case rates, so long as masking and other mitigation recommendations are followed, which is great news and hopeful for our district as well. Meanwhile, the teachers, principals, and administrators at our schools, and don't forget all of our us parent volunteers, are running around our schools like chickens with our heads cut off, bowing to this 61-page document that was released only about a week and a half to rearrange, their whole way of school and the seating and the schedules and drop off and procedures. And, it's all for good and safety, but that's just, causes a lot of stress on top of a stressful year. On top of it only being about 2, maybe 2.5 hours, only 2 days a week. Just seems like some fresh kind of torture that's bestowed on all of us, even now with the painstaking measures to fit that 6-foot distancing, which limits the time in the classroom each day, among other reasons, I still wholeheartedly implore the board to side with science and sense again and make immediate moves to reduce spacing to align with the health services suggestion of 3 feet distancing right away, and thus more hours in the classroom throughout the week too for the kids and the families who choose to go back. My kids are excited to go back, as they should be. As per usual this year, they, along with thousands of their peers, are just dealing with the hand they've been dealt without their interests really at the forefront. It's their time in the sun, and we need to let the light shine in as much as possible for them. Less distance, more time with their friends, their teachers, their classmates, learning in the environment this modern world and our tax dollars intended. Thank you for your continued consideration and support of the Mount Diablo Unified School District parent community and its children, the lifeblood of the school system, the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Your comment has been heard. Next, we'll have Walter Eckelbar to be followed by Laura Steele. First, Walter.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. Thanks for hearing my comment tonight. I'm Walter Eckelbar, a parent of two, one of which is still in the district. We have moved one of our children private and will continue to do so. Rather than just echo everything that was just said, because I agree wholeheartedly with it, and I've also emailed the board as well, but I just really want to be sure that the board understands the implications of the county and state changing the school reopening guidelines in the last week. These guidelines that include shortening the physical distancing to 3 feet and adopting what is termed stable groups rather than these small cohorts, which effectively allows for larger numbers of kids in classrooms beyond just the 14 of that stable group. There's now nothing preventing us from opening schools for full-time in-person learning. Failing to do so will risk parents bringing legal action to force the district to provide in-person education to the fullest extent possible. So please continue to expand in-person learning activities in this school year. So thank you.
Thank you, Walter. Your comment has been heard. Next, we have Laura Steele to be followed by Corey Holliday. First, Laura.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for taking me. I really appreciate all the hard work that has gone on at all the school sites this week and last week in preparation for all of our students who have chosen hybrid to return, including my first grader who's ecstatic to go back tomorrow. He's getting up super early to get all his homework done because he's super motivated and wants to impress his teacher. So we're really looking forward to that. And just to echo a lot of the earlier sentiments by Sarah and Walter, I just want to express that I completely agree, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what the board and Dr. Clark can offer in terms of a full return as soon as possible. This new guidance gives us a lot of hope, where we didn't even think that we could go back into hybrid this year, that perhaps we can go back full time this year. This is really exciting and really an important step for us to take, given that we have a limited hybrid program that will offer something like 40 hours for the remainder of the year per child in person. Students who go full time get 35 hours a week. So that increase in hours that we can provide any of our students at this point is really meaningful. I know that there are only something like 45 days left in the school year. And I think that it's still very important for us to continue to push back on that 6 foot to 3 feet distancing, because that allows us 75% more children in a classroom. Not that we want to pack us to the gills, we still want to keep it safe for everybody, but given that there is enough scientific support and that the board has said that they want to side with science, I really would appreciate that we look into all of those options. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Your comment has been heard. Next, we have Corey Holliday to be followed by Brandy Clintworth. But first, a brief note for any attendees just joining us. You can leave a public comment here in person this evening. Simply raise your hand and we'll call on you in the order that we receive them. Let's have Corey.
Yes, can you hear me? Great, thank you. This is Corey Holliday. I'm speaking to item 11.2 about the future of KVHS, the community radio station based at Clayton Valley High, that has been a fundamental, profound, crucial, and important part of the education of all students and staff that participated in that radio station since its inception. I was personally there 2005 to 2008, and it spawned my interest in radio, and I went to San Francisco State after that, and had a degree in radio communications. And honestly, this program has been the most profound experience. It's hands-on. It has been so powerful for all of the skills and experience that I gained through this program. It has been such an amazing experience for working in the business, working hands-on in radio broadcasting, doing the production work, doing promotions, working with community members, businesses, the whole gamut of actually running a station. As I was starting as a high school student, I learned how to work a radio soundboard before I learned how to drive a car. And it was an amazing thing to be able to do. And there's nothing that can replace that experience I've had. I do hope the program can continue in the future. It has been profound, and I appreciate you hearing my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Your comment has been heard. Next, we have Brandy Clintworth to be followed by Alita Asiano.
Hi, I'm Brandy. I'm a parent of 2 middle schoolers, and I want to say I appreciate all the work you guys are doing now, administrators, teachers, everyone, to get us ready for hybrid. But I do want to say, I think the sooner we can have a solid plan for the fall, the better. And I think we know right now that the board and the superintendent and teachers seem to be supporting this. Our issue is the distancing requirement, and in the June, the MOU expires. So given our existing number of students, given that we are not decreasing our teachers, it sounds like, given we can project many things, including distancing at 3 feet, we should be able to ask our parents if they're planning in the fall to continue distance learning or they'd like to come back on a full-time in person. Given that we have 60 or 50% who want this hybrid model with just 4 hours a week, I think we'd have a significant higher number. And I think given that information, we can probably tell whether or not we can go full-time with 3 foot of distancing. It's a calculation. I'm sure I'm oversimplifying, but it would be nice if you don't have to tell me exactly with 3 feet given, no increase, decrease, if we can go back full-time, but I think I need to know that you have a plan. And if we don't have a plan for going back full-time right away, whatever hybrid you can come up with and work out with our unions, that we know that we're setting up ourselves. So as soon as we do have that decrease to 1 or 2 feet social distancing requirements, that we can come back full-time. So the sooner you can get that out, I think the better. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. Your comment has been heard. Let's hear next from Alita Asiano, to be followed by Gina Valeria. First, Alita.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Alita. I'm a parent and educator in MDUSD. It feels all right to be able to take a deep breath knowing that there are agreements and schedules in place to make the most of this last stretch of a wild year. Now we have a little bit of extra air. Let's be clear that it would be an injustice to let up now. We all got work to do. A few weeks back in one of my classes, I prompted my students to think about and share any positives from distance learning. One of my students actually shared that he's grateful there have been no school shootings in our country this past year. I remember discussing Columbine mass murder in high school immediately after it happened, thinking this would never happen again. And yet just 2 years ago, we were all practicing intruder drills in our MDUSD schools from preschool to adult school. Every time the messaging is transferred down the line and it continues to be everything's going to be okay, we're doing everything to ensure safety. This is not the new normal we can even consider accepting, nor do I wish the old normal of my school days. We got work to do. Another student had shared that he felt safer at home during this past year of racialized assaults in the spotlight. Let's remember, racialized terror and violence is woven deeply into the fabric of America and requires some real good stitch work. So many of our students have been spared the physical experience of bigotry and chosen ignorance and platitudes of equity in our MDUSD schools during this past year of racial reckoning in our country. Yet, in less than a year of outrage, hashtags and symbolic gestures, the interest, eagerness, and intention in our school communities has faded. The nostalgia for that old normal has become more and more desired. Beautiful Black-bodied human beings, Indigenous human beings, Asian Pacific Islander human beings, LGBTQ, non-binary and trans human beings, and all of the intersections that many humans that we serve must face on the daily are forced in our American context to question their existence, their appearance, gender orientation, documentation status, and ability. And well, They continue to withstand the daily aggressions our school system inflicts. We got work to do. I'm almost done, don't worry. I do not desire the old normal, not even a little bit. It's not good enough, not for my students and not for my own babies. We can all do better. I urge all of our school and district leaders, our board, educators, my colleagues, me, families, and of course, more importantly, our students, if you're out there, to not settle for the false comfort of the old normals. Leaders, I beg you to find comfort in real talk and real action rather than what sounds good or acquiesces the loudest voices. It's too easy to point to Dr. Clark to solve everything, but yes, Dr. Clark, we still need you to keep it real. Every layer of leadership needs to step it up or step differently, and most deaf step together for MDUSD to actually make some transformations as we prepare for the next year. We have 7 weeks after spring break and then 2.5 months this summer to get it together.
Pardon my interruption. You do have 15 seconds remaining.
Oh, let's make some real magic for our learners, y'all. Let's be a model district where everyone belongs, feels welcome, and is held up. We currently nor have been a destination district. I urge anyone that isn't up for the challenge to reimagine and take action to make some room. Let's get to work. Hey, maybe the first step could be to tune into MDUSD radio. Thank you for hearing me tonight.
Thank you, Alita. Your public comment has been heard. Next, we have Gina Valeria, to be followed finally by Kimberly Ingalls. First,
Thank you
Gina.
so much. Hi, thank you so much for taking my comment. I'm commenting on 11.2, the continued operation of KBHS. And I want to say to the previous commenter, I agree wholeheartedly. And I think KBHS is a vehicle for helping students find their voice and find their confidence and learn how to express themselves and add their voice to the narrative. And it was so valuable for me. I was at KBHS in the early 90s, and it informed, honestly, it ended up informing everything about my professional life. I became a news broadcaster, and I was always going between TV and radio. I became a college professor. I teach at Sonoma State now. I taught radio at San Francisco State. I teach podcasting now. I have my own podcast. As we know, podcasting, if we're talking about radio and podcasting, it is on the forefront. It is so popular. It's so it's so important for students to be able to learn how to share their voices and learn how to do that. And KBHS is just the perfect place for that. It was, gosh, it was just an invaluable piece of my education. It's great to be in the classroom, and it's so important to learn all of English and math and all of that. But something like KBHS, a real professional environment where you are learning by practice and through guidance. All of the Wilsons, I was lucky enough to have Mr. Tom Wilson as my advisor, and the lessons that he was able to teach us as we practiced it ourselves really helped us find our confidence and take ownership of something. And I just cannot tell you how important that is. I don't know how much time I have left, but I hope that I hope that you cling to that and protect KBHS and bring it back in as a class. And I also think that a lot of us who used to be there would help you with that if necessary, because it was such, I just can't express how important it was, not just because it's a radio station, but because it helps, it's so formative. It helps us, it helped me, and I know it helped a lot of us figure out who we were, find our voice, find our confidence, and direct ourselves. So I appreciate you hearing me.
Thank you, Gina. Your public comment has been heard. Finally, we have Kimberly Ingalls.
Yes, hi. I would also like to comment on the KBHS future of it and program. I was a part of the ROP course in the mid to late 90s. My sister was in the mid 80s. The ROP program, and in particular, the job training at KBHS, provided me with many life and career skills, marketing and management, public speaking, leadership, and community presence. I have worked with audio video. I am a successful local author and teacher. I began a community program at that radio station that I've continued in the 25 years since. If there is any way of preserving or bringing back the opportunities through the ROP program, or to promote the industry of media and what it can do for the kids, the confidence that it instilled in, I was one of the older students already out of high school, but what I saw blooming among the high school age students was pretty phenomenal. So I also am in favor of saving and resurrecting the radio station.
Thank you, Kimberly. Your comment has been heard. Board President Cound, not having any other hands raised, this would mark the end of the public comment period.
Thank you very much, Mr. Breidenthal, and thank you to all who took the time to come out and speak to us tonight and have your voice heard. We always appreciate that. All right, moving on to 9.0 communications. 9.1 district organizations. At regular board meetings, a single spokesperson of each recognized district organization may make a brief presentation. Items are limited to those which are informational. Do we have any speakers under this item?
Board President Cound, although no union or district organization leaders had elected to appear in person tonight, we did have one statement from Jane Kwiatkowski, if I'm saying that right, CHS Registrar, on behalf of CST, and that statement has been attached to our public agenda.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to 10.0 recognitions and resolutions. 10.1 review and potential approval of board resolution 2021-57 for personnel with provisional internship permits. Dr. Clark.
Yes, and I'm going to turn this item over to Dr. Rubio, and I see him in the center of the screen. Dr. Rubio.
Good evening, everyone. This resolution is coming before you. As you know, the Teaching Credential Commission sometimes allows us to have applicants who need more time to complete their subject matter competence requirements, and we have two individuals tonight that we're bringing before you for your request for approval to give them more time to complete their work towards their credentials.
Thank you, Mr. Rubio. Do we have a motion?
Madam President, I move that the board approve the PIP resolution 20-21-57 as presented.
Thank you, thank you, Trustee Mayo. Motion by Trustee Mayo, second by Trustee Mason. Thank you very much. Any discussion? We'll put that to a vote, and we'll start with Trustee Ellis.
Yes.
Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
Trustee Mason.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from student board member. Thank you very much. Item 10.2, review and potential approval of board resolution 2021-58 to authorize local assignment options EC 44263. Dr. Clark.
And Dr. Rubio is going to take this item as well.
Thank you. Board members, Education Code 44263 allows us to have teachers with enough units to teach in other areas. And we have one employee tonight where we're asking for your permission and approval to authorize that local assignment option.
Thank you, Dr. Rubio. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the board resolution 20/21-58 to authorize local assignment options EC 44263.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Trustee Mason, second by Trustee Mayo. Any discussion? We'll move that to a vote. Trustee Alas.
Yes.
Trustee Mason.
Yes.
Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And now item 10.3, review and potential approval of resolution 2021-59 in solidarity with and advocacy for Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. Dr. Clark.
Great. President Cound, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to bring this resolution forward for the board's consideration. I think that events that have taken place throughout the Bay Area and the nation at large, I think with those events taking place, I think that this resolution is very timely and very appropriate. So as with regular protocol, I'll read the opening paragraph and the ending paragraph. So whereas a recent dramatic increase in the violent and disturbing crimes and incidents toward the Asian American and Pacific Islander communities during this pandemic, and especially toward the elderly, is disheartening and deserves acknowledgement and denouncement. So whereas in our schools, we support and encourage restorative justice models that break the cycle of violence, ethnic studies to teach people about racial solidarity, anti-bullying and social emotional training for staff, and anonymous incident reports to promote campus safety and inclusive culture. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we stand together with our AAPI students, staff, administration, and community, calling people from different cultures and communities to rise together to condemn racism, violence, and hate, noting that a community of belonging does not happen at the expense of the oppression of others, and be it further resolved that we renew our commitment to ensure equitable, inclusive, and anti-racist policies and practices with a commitment to holding each other responsible in order to build a culture of respectful conduct and treatment of one another henceforth and forever. President Count, it is now in the hands of the board.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clark. And a note also thanks to Sarah Wright, Secretary at Mount Diablo High School, and Leslie Amore G. Harris, Counselor at Riverview, for feedback and input on the language of this resolution as well. All right, do I hear a motion?
President Cound, I would move to approve Resolution 20/21-59 in solidarity with and advocacy for Asian American and Pacific Islanders.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Motion by Trustee Alas and second by Trustee Mason. Any discussion or comments? Trustee Nzewi?
Okay. So we find ourselves in another tough week in America where we're reminded of our racist roots and the unconscionable death that is often born of it. After last week's shooting in Atlanta, I saw the despair come through loudly on social media from Asian American and Pacific Islander friends and colleagues of mine. It was despair and anger that I know too well. Reading their words of hurt and rage reminded me of my own over the years, and it made me so angry that they had to experience the same feelings. It makes me angry that though now it's in the public eye over the last year, this is not new to America. This is America. Like anti-Black racism, anti-Asian racism is centuries old, stoked by the white supremacist values our country holds dear. AAPI and Black solidarity exceeds 60 years because we know that liberation for one will lead to liberation for all. This step tonight to denounce the violent racist attacks against our Asian and Pacific Islander neighbors can't stop here. We need to implement multicultural curriculum, culturally responsive and social justice teaching at every grade level, and so that we can combat white supremacy and uplift every race, ethnicity, language, and culture that makes our community so rich. And I look forward to approving this resolution.
Thank you so much, Trustee Nzewi, for your excellent words. Very, I agree with just everything you just said. So thank you. Really, really appreciate that. Other comments I'd like to.
I have a couple comments. This past week, my social media, my Instagram feed has been flooded by GoFundMes, awareness posts, and tributes to the victims of the recent mass shooting in Atlanta, Georgia. And these are my classmates. So these are students, these are children who are seeing this happening to people of their same ethnic group, people that look like them across the nation. And this is something we're seeing an uptick recently due to the rhetoric used by the previous presidential administration largely. But as Trustee Nzewi said, this is not something that is new in America. This is something that is centuries old, from the Chinese Exclusion Act to the model minority myth. So we can't just stop Asian hate. We have to teach Asian history. We have to read Asian authors. We have to celebrate Asian success. We as board members have received emails from community members who have felt targeted in MDUSD due to the fact that they are members of the Asian American Pacific Islander community. Every student, every staff member deserves to teach and learn in a healthy and safe environment without worrying about being attacked or targeted due to racism and xenophobia. President Cowan recently published a statement on her blog and on Twitter, which has incredible resources, including help hotlines, culturally competent teaching resources, and ways to support the AAPI community. Hate is taught and learning starts in the classroom. I hope that this resolution is another step in our MDUSD mission to actively combat racism and actively be anti-racist.
Thank you so much, Trustee Alas. Absolutely. Absolutely. There is action, as you both have said, beyond the words of this resolution. There's action that we can and must take at every level in this school district. Trustee Mason, I see that you're unmuted. Did you have a comment as well? Okay. Any other discussion? Trustee McFerrin.
Just really briefly, I would like to encourage everyone to please try to provide the space and the time within your family and in your friend group to talk about acts of hate targeting Asian American and Pacific Islanders. I want to publicly state that I've made a commitment to do this as well. And I want to encourage people to do something that I've done, which is in my classroom. I always am calling students in when I hear a term, that maybe isn't even intended as offensive, but maybe it's a microaggression, maybe it's speaking about a stereotype. Anything like that earns a student a conversation with me in the hallway, as it should. And so this is the time that I've been talking with my students, and I want to mention it here. I would really encourage everyone to look at the ADL's pyramid of hate, where at the bottom there are kind of these, kind of smaller offenses that include insensitive remarks, stereotyping, and then they move up through acts of bias, discrimination, bias motivated violence, and then at the top, genocide, because even kind of the smallest racial aggressions really are not actually small.
Thank you very much, Trustee McFerrin. Absolutely, and really great to hear how a teacher can call students in like that. I really appreciate that example as well. And I've also been working with, in collaboration with the various mayors of the cities that Mount Diablo is in, as well as other school board presidents. We published with Mayor Wilk and School Board President Hernandez Gaddy a letter to the editor in the newspaper, as well as a statement there as well. So this goes beyond just our school district. It's also our city leadership that is dedicated to making sure that all of our communities are the inclusive places that we need them to be and safe places that we need them to be for all people. So thank you everyone for your efforts here. With that, I will move this to a vote. Trustee Alas.
Yes.
Trustee Mason.
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you very much, everyone. All right, next on to 11.0 reports and information. 11.1 is presentation on City of Pittsburgh proposed growth. Dr. Clark.
Yes, so I was contacted several months ago by the city manager from Pittsburgh, and we scheduled a meeting, and he shared with me some of the plans that the city is moving forward with in terms of development and how that may and will impact the Mount Diablo Unified School District. And so we invited city manager and the mayor to come and do a presentation about this growth. And so I'm looking for them. Yes, so I have Mayor Merrill Kraft, and I also have city manager Garrett Evans. And I see that they have shown themselves. And so I just want to welcome you both. Mayor, I have not had a chance to meet you, so very nice to meet you virtually.
Thank you, and you as well.
Yeah, and so we do have your presentation, and so our technology department will put that on the screen. And when you would like a slide advance, just please say advance, and I will turn it over to the both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Kraft, for taking the time to be here with us tonight. We're honored to have you.
Thank you very much. And good evening, members of the Mount Diablo Unified School District Board, Dr. Clark, staff, and the community. Next slide, please. My name is Garrett Evans. I'm the city manager of the city of Pittsburgh, and I'm pleased to introduce Mayor Merle Kraft this evening as we provide an update on development in one of your communities. Next slide, please. Madam Mayor.
Okay, so first I want to applaud you for denouncing racism and racial aggression and for your words. They were very strong, very heartfelt, and we need more of those. So thank you for your vote. And so we're gonna start with our Pittsburgh overview. Pittsburgh is the 5th largest city in Contra Costa County with 74,321 residents. We're one of the fastest growing cities in California with several thousand residential units coming to market in the next 20 years. The average is 80 to 120 new housing units started each year. This development is entirely funded through private enterprise without any contributions from the city. The city has invested heavily in infrastructure, open bids totaling nearly $12 million. Next slide, please. The median household income is $70,770. Census tract 3552 is 144,000 and 6% annual growth. Medium home sales prices is 465,000. Census tract 3552 is a very important one for you to keep that number in mind, is 589,700. Median real estate taxes paid, census tract 3552. I can't see what that says. Let's see, because the things are in the way. I'll go to mine. Yeah, it's gone.
7,300.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, this is one of the latest listings from Zillow. And as you can see, starting price for those homes are $936,000. And these are the bigger homes that are being built that are closer toward the Concord area. This is San Marcos area. And so you can see there are 5 bedrooms, which means there'll be a lot of kids coming through there as well too. Okay, next slide, please. The city's goals are to develop a mix of housing types and affordability levels, to mitigate environmental impacts to the greatest extent possible, bring commercial and additional recreation opportunities to the area that will allow residents the best quality of life possible, build safe and reliable infrastructure to support existing and future development, require developers pay an equitable share in necessary improvements, and provide high quality homes and amenities. Next slide, please. And I will turn this over to Mr. City Manager, Garrett.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, for the overview. The city of Pittsburgh has 3 different school districts within its community: Mount Diablo Unified School District, Pittsburgh Unified School District, and Antioch Unified School District. As you can see, over 12,500 units are part of Pittsburgh's build out. And as the mayor said, generally Pittsburgh develops around 120 or so units a year. So this will be a slow, steady growth. And where we're going to focus over the next several slides is where you all are most concerned, Mount Diablo Unified School District with over 7,300 units. Next slide, please. So to start this out, we're really looking at what's under construction right now. What are the impacts of residential units over the next 1, 2, and 3 years? And so we've done a set of color coordination item here. First, we're starting off with yellow, and that's very important to the district. You have Delta View Elementary School, and then you also have an 11-acre Mount Diablo property that was left as part of another development. So those two properties are district owned in the city of Pittsburgh. What we have is a purplish red color is what we anticipate being constructed over the next 3 years. And that's about 1,066 units, either in the San Marco development or the Alves Ranch development, as they're known in Pittsburgh. Next slide, please. Future near-term projects, so 3 to 5 year timeframes that's coming up. We've added to those 2 color schemes an additional color, orange, and that near term is another 631 units. Next slide, please. Now we go into a little bit further, that 5 to 10 year window, which we're labeling as midterm. We've added a green color, which includes 2,105 units. Whether it's Faria, which recently was approved by the city council, Bailey Estates, which has been approved for, at least 15 years. And then Ambrose Village, which is not technically in the city, but is being developed by the county. And then finally, we started adding future commercial items here as well. Next slide, please. Finally, as we sort of pull these colors together here in an Easter-like setting, color scheme, what we have is sort of the development of long range, which is 10 years and more. And that's the purple color. So you have more development in DeBonneville near San Marco. You have development around the BART station, both transit-oriented development and what's master planned. So that long range is an additional 3,600 residential units. Next slide, please. So putting them all together in a table, you can see the existing units within Mount Diablo Unified School District. You have approximately 4,300 units, under construction another 1,000, and then planned another 6,400. So in total, that's nearly 12,000 units that the district will have in its territory. And we're certainly looking forward to working with the district as schools and all the growth happens. Next slide, please. So what are some of the development impacts that, as we work with developers, all projects are going through or have gone through an environmental review. They identify and undergo appropriate mitigation, such as traffic, public safety. The residential projects pay impact fees, including school district impact fees for all the construction. The fee is established by Mount Diablo, and then we pass that on to the developer. Next slide, please. So the revenues from new construction in today's dollars, we're estimating approximately $25 million for the single family units and $20 million for the multifamily units. Certainly your consultant and your team will have much more accurate numbers. We're using approximations. All pending and future single family residential development projects will pay also public safety fees, park maintenance fees, fire services, landscape lighting, all those typical fees. Whenever you buy a new home now, I think you get sort of that sticker shock when the first first mortgage payment comes in. Next slide, please. In summary, the city and the entire Bay Area is faced with a growing housing demand and a greater push by the state to provide housing. The area west of Bailey Road provides an extensive opportunity to meet this demand while staying within voter-approved limit lines. But again, this is a major impact to the district with all these home units coming on board. So the city has put in place mechanisms to help make the area self-sustaining and looks forward to continuing the partnership with developers to bring those amenities and infrastructure to the area, but most importantly, working with Mount Diablo Unified School District to make this the most advantageous for scholastic development that we can. And I believe that is our last slide. And we were here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for that presentation. Let me open it up to questions from the trustees.
I have a couple of questions. I'm sure the mayor and Mr. Evans aren't surprised. I was just on their meeting the other night, and they know I have lived out there all my life. When you talk about environmental concerns, and Mayor Kraft knows me, she knows I'm a straight shooter. I'm going to say what's on my mind. I'm assuming these are all Mr. Sino's construction projects. Is that correct?
Not all of them.
Okay.
High
Some of them.
majority.
Okay. My concern being in the past, he's killed some turtles. He's cut down oak trees that he wasn't supposed to. He knew he wasn't supposed to, but he's willing to pay the fine and move on. So when you say the city's going to hold him accountable, I understand you're environmentally, you're thinking about traffic, but are you going to hold him accountable to those kind of rules that we have as well? That's one. And then the other part being, I'm assuming the city uses smart growth when they're developing, which means walkability. And I see that when you're talking about having stores, that's walkability. But I think a school would be another walkability. And I'm sure Mr. Sino, being Italian like myself, always puts children first. So I would think he'd want to build a school for us there. And I would also suggest that he would want to make major improvements to Mount Diablo High School, since that's where a lot of these kids will be going to high school. So those are my comments and my questions. And then just the extension of Avila Road, where does that fall in the whole scheme, if you know?
Oh, yeah, no, and that's great. Great series of questions. And certainly, I'll start off at the beginning with the environmental. We establish mitigation and monitoring programs. So not only mitigation, but monitoring. And we have staff that go out and are on the sites, if not every day, every other day, making sure that all the grading, the construction, all of that's being followed. And whether that's Discovery Builders or any other developer. And so you certainly don't want to paint any brush that it's just that developer. And we expect that all the rules and mitigations will be followed and implemented. And we certainly appreciate getting calls from the community if there's dust, any type of impacts, because we also then follow up on that. And if they're not following, again, not just saying this developer, we will cite them. So I do appreciate that. Whether Mr. Sino as a developer wants to, I certainly hope he will work with the district. I really appreciated Dr. Clark and staff's openness to work with us as we laid out all of this development, and how we can bring more schools to the area is a fantastic thing, that works within your development plans. Because again, the more opportunities closer to where they live, the better, just for everyone, from traffic, greenhouse gas, all of those impacts. And I'm sorry, the middle question there.
I think the other one was about Avila Road.
Yes, yes. Avila Road is part of West Leland continuation. That is part of the next 3 to 5 years, should be the target. It's about a $20 to $25 million connection. If you've been on the Avila Road side and looked up, you can see a rather large hole that has to be filled in. So.
And I think the other question was from Trustee Mason was walkability to schools. That's always been a priority for us, is safe routes to schools for students to be able to walk and bike. Do you foresee that being part of all of these projects for each of the schools? Yes, and thank you very much. A safe route to schools is something we work with Pittsburgh Unified as well, and Antioch, and something I know our mayor has talked about. We have regular meetings with Pittsburgh Unified School District, and would welcome those kind of meetings that Dr. Clark has helped initiate, certainly with Mount Diablo, so we can keep everybody informed. If there are routes that are a concern, or you're hearing other types of matters that way, we want to know about that so we can fix them. Yeah, I think often the best time to do that is in the development itself, so that it's harder to build in a sidewalk that wasn't intended to be there. Go ahead, Mayor Kraft.
Okay, through the chair. One of the things that, as our city manager was alluding to, is that we meet quarterly with the Pittsburgh Unified School District, and it's our 2x2. So it's 2 board members, 2 council members, the superintendent, and our city manager. And then we also have representatives from each of the departments that that are engaged with the school district as well. So that could be like we have our, especially Paul Reiners. I always have to say his name because he was such a big part of the school district, the city, but he was the one who went after all the grants and for safety around the schools, transportation, safety, that sort of thing. And so that's a part of our conversation. So they're there, resource officers, they're there, but every department in our city that interfaces with the school district is represented, and then they have theirs. But this gives us the opportunity to look at these things before we get into conversations and development agreements and that sort of thing. You have an opportunity to have input. And as you can see, a lot of what we're doing, the build out is coming toward your way, which means it's going to have a huge impact on Mount Diablo Unified School District. This may be a great opportunity to forge that relationship with you guys as well, so that you're going to have a lot of questions and we may not have all the answers, but this gives us an opportunity to tackle it from both ends. And so we would love to invite you to be a part of the 2x2. And at some point, we may even want to have a joint 2x2 for a 4x4, I guess you would call it, for bringing Mount Diablo and Pittsburgh Unified together for some of these concerns, because you're talking about the attendance boost for you. You're also talking about schools that are closer to us as well, but they're crossing over. These numbers are going to expand fast. And so we need to tackle this. And so we're hoping that you would be open to that suggestion.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. Thank you. I think there is a question from our CBO as well. I see.
Yes,
Lisa.
thank you. So just a comment and then a question. Certainly developer fees are not going to be enough, no matter how we look at this, to be able to build schools. So have there been any conversations at all with any of the developers yet about negotiating a mitigation agreement that will provide the facilities for the students, as well probably as land in certain areas, including any discussions about Melrose assessment districts?
There have been conversations previously about those in other discussion developments. Not recently, but that is something that why we want to have these meetings, so we can make sure that Mount Diablo has a voice at the table.
Thank you. Yes. Trustee Mayo, did I see your hand up?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I appreciate the presentation and thank you for the detailed map. Maps are always helpful. I was curious how you have looked at public transportation. Mrs. Mason mentioned walkability, but then we know that some of the units may be further away from from schools. So, you know, are you in discussion with the providers of public transportation, and when you would anticipate the completion of these nearly 12,000 units?
Okay, I'll tackle the first part about the public transportation. I just got out of the Tri-Delta meeting, and one of the presentations that was today was about autonomous vehicles. And I'm sure they're presented at Concord and all the different cities. They're trying to get these vehicles. These vehicles are like 10 feet and like 5 by 7 in height. The emission is 1% compared to the other vehicles. And so anyway, they are coming to all of the cities for approval. It's been approved at the level from CCTA and MTC, and it went to Tri-Delta. It'll go to the other ones as part of that plan, because this is off the freeways. This would be more so on the streets, and these vehicles are small enough to go into areas. And so that is a part of the planning thing, and they want to make sure that these are a part of new development as well, and transit villages and that sort of thing is part of the planning process for that. So look out for that. So yes, we're definitely interested in making sure that transportation is a part of our conversations with new development.
And thank you very much, Madam Mayor. That's the Glideways project, which we are looking at autonomous vehicles going from Brentwood to Oakley to Antioch to Pittsburgh and covering basically 24/7. Somebody can hop on and then just go to wherever they need to. And it's a rather creative $450 million project. Getting back to, how long this could take. We're generally around that 100 to 150 unit a year, but when that's usually exclusive of multifamily projects, which sort of pop in there. So you're probably talking a 30-year window here, 40-year window for development to see all this build out.
So along those lines, also the areas that are currently under construction, when are those set to be completed? That first set that's
I think the first over the next 2 or 3 years, it'll be pretty quick with the market the way it is. They're trying to do as much as they can.
okay. So we're not talking about this coming school year, for example, the 21-22. Okay, all right. Thank you.
And I have a question for your attendance. What are your the schools like for, because I know we have one high school. And so the conversation that I had with the city manager was if we were able to build more elementary schools here, where do they go past there for junior high and whatever? So what does yours look like?
So in middle school we have Riverview Middle School that is in Bay Point, and then we have Mount Diablo High School, which the students from Bay Point attend, and that's located in Concord.
So that's been a challenge, I think, in our district, is that we haven't had enough enrollment for a high school in the Bay Point area. So students are bused to Mount Diablo High. So this could be, a real game changer potentially if we have enough enrollment to have a high school in Bay Point itself. I don't know how the projections work for that, but that's a goal. I think we used to have a high school in Bay Point, and we no longer do. So I'm sure Ms. Mason can speak to that. Or Ms. Kraft.
Yeah, my family was all at Pacifica with Deborah.
Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah. So I mean, it was a real loss, I think, for that community, right? To not have a high school there anymore. So that would be something to look into in terms of the numbers. I think also between the elementary schools, I don't know if any of the staff know this, but the Delta View Elementary versus our other elementary schools in terms of impacted. Dr. Clark or staff, do we have information about Delta View in particular, and is it full already at this point?
Yeah, Delta View is an impacted school, and so Mr. Evans and Madam Mayor, definitely Mount Diablo wants to be included in all meetings going forward. I think initially it was my hope to get you in front of the board, and so that the board could hear the seriousness of this conversation. I know when we met some time back, I did share that with the board that there was major development coming in the Pittsburgh area, and that we were going to be heavily impacted. And so, I've been counting the meetings, making sure that to get you guys in front of the board. And so now going forward, we definitely want to sit at the table at all meetings going forward. And again, my assistant is your point person. Also, Dr. Gonzalez, who you've met and spoken with before, is also the point person. So definitely we understand the impact that this development is going to have on our district, and we want to make sure that we're prepared not only in the in the next couple of years, but that we have long range plans to be able to absorb that new enrollment that will be coming.
Fantastic. We really appreciate the opportunity to be before you all tonight, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming tonight and for sharing this information and for the ongoing partnership that we look forward to with you in the planning of this process. It's very exciting to look at new enrollments and new possibilities. So look forward to collaborating with you going forward.
Thank
And
you.
as I said to you guys the other night, I'm a lifetime West Pittsburgh person. What's good for City of Pittsburgh is good for Bay Point and vice versa. So I'm very excited to see that we're finally going to start sitting down and working together. I appreciate it.
That we are as well. That's one of the things that the council, especially like with Ambrose Park, when we entered into the agreement with you with Ambrose Park, is that is the heart of the community. Bay Point is very near and dear to my heart because that was my second location. My grandmother lived there. And so we are stronger with Bay Point. And so our goal is to always work with Bay Point.
Well, we won't get into the gory details, but we appreciate you guys saved us on Ambrose Park, and we will not forget that.
Thank you. Our pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Good night.
All right. Any other comments on that, trustees? Okay, very good. All right, thank you so much. All right, moving on to 11.2. Direction regarding the continued operation of KVHS, non-commercial FM radio station operating out of Clayton Valley campus. Dr. Clark.
All right, I'm waiting for, I see him. Whenever these items come up, I always see who's gonna pop up on the screen, and I see I know that Mr. Alvarado has been working very, very closely with this matter, and so let me turn it over to Mr. Alvarado. Would you like to present this item?
Thank you. Yes. Good evening, members of the board. As you may or may not know, unfortunately, this is not as well known as it should be. KVHS is a radio station owned and operated by Mount Diablo Unified School District. It actually broadcasts our board meetings, so you are all on the radio right now. But unfortunately, it does very little besides that in terms of content. It provides music, it plays music, and it does not broadcast well, first of all, the class that was started by in 1969 by the Office of Education at Clayton Valley, which was the subject of this radio station, ended in 2012. So since 2012, there has been no students that have utilized the resources that would be available through a radio station. It does not produce content. It does not generate revenue. There are no advertisements that are ongoing. Essentially, it plays on a recorded loop, which is renewed every 2 weeks. And other than board meetings, it has no other content. The radio station is now up for renewal at the end of this year. It is a complicated process. It's a process that needs to be done with the FCC. The station operator, whom we retained for the last 2 years, who has operated the station, is retiring, or actually has retired. Costs over the last 3 years for running the radio station as it currently exists are approximately $44,000 to $45,000 a year. So that's a total of approximately $120,000 over the last 3 years to run the station as it is. We have done some preliminary research, and so we bring in the issue to you for, as indicated, for direction as to, number one, the renewal of the license. The license itself does have value. We have consulted with industry experts who indicated that the value potentially of the license itself is between $300,000 and $500,000, depending on the marketplace. The equipment and the actual content, of course, it does not have the same value. It has not been upgraded for many years, since 2012, and it's outdated. So the station is currently located at Clayton Valley High School. It operates out of there. As you know, Clayton Valley is no longer part of the district. It is now operated by Clayton Valley Charter School. So it simply is standing out there on an island, and has been so for the last multiple years. we have looked at the issue of the renewal of the license, given that it does, of course, have a value. In order for us to renew it according to the FCC, we do need to maintain operation for a certain number of hours. We also need to have a number of announcements made to the community. So it would help in the renewal process, although it can be done without the radio station operating, for the station to continue operating, at least during the process of renewal. Now, we do need direction from the board and what happens next. What do we do with this asset and this resource that has been sitting dormant for many, many years following that? As I indicated, we've consulted we have some preliminary estimates that as to the value of the license itself. We've also looked as to whether it can be relocated. We understand that now, given the advances in technology, that may be more feasible than it was in the past. In the past, it was not feasible, given that the antenna was actually located at Clayton Valley. Now, it may be more feasible to do so, but in order for us to make that final determination, we will need to again consult with technicians and with professionals in the radio industry to determine how much would it cost to have that station moved to a different location. And of course, that would all be dependent on whether that there is a different location where that would be where that could operate. As I indicated, the program itself is not operational, so there are no classes, and so we don't have a radio programming classes at Mount Diablo Unified School District. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over for the board for discussion, questions, and then for approval as to or direction to staff to, number one, renew the license, and number two, perhaps explore the possibility of resale or lease of the license itself, depending, or the continued operation of the station, depending on the wishes of the board.
And if I could just chime in with a few words to piggyback off of Mr. Alvarado, is that listening to the public comments on this, clearly this radio station had a tremendous impact on many students and families throughout the years. This is what CTE is about. This is what our academies are about, is to connect our students with industry, with industry standards and industry experiences, so that they can, maybe pursue a career in those particular industries, or just see how other things are created and really pique their interest. However, I will say, and Mr. Alvarado hit all these points, is that that this station is outdated. We haven't used it in in close to 10 years, and we have other opportunities for students to get that hands-on sort of CTE experience throughout the district. So I just really want to, I'm advocating one way, but clearly it had an impact. But I think that those days are past us, and I think it would probably be better served if we invested those dollars into some of our other programs that students have direct access to. But I'll leave it up to the board to give us direction. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Alvarado, and thank you, Dr. Clark. Trustees, questions, comments?
So thank you so much for the presentation, Mr. Alvarado. I have a quick question. And so we heard like anecdotal examples of people who valued using the radio station, but I was wondering if there were like any numbers or any metrics on how many people actually tune in, like for example, to our board meetings, or how many people use the radio station on a daily or monthly basis, and how many are in the MDUSD community.
I don't have those numbers in front of me. I think that there are ratings that we can access. I don't, as I indicated, the content currently is music. It's simply music that plays on the loop. There is no interaction with the public. So while I'm sure there is an audience for the content, obviously as it is playing, there isn't any actual interaction between the public and Mount Diablo Unified School District, and so we can get ratings in terms of what that is, but since there is no content being produced for it other than our board meetings, it's difficult to tell what how many members of our district per se are listening to the radio station. The radio station itself does not market itself as a Mount Diablo Unified School District property. It markets itself as KBHS, period, as a Clayton Valley. Makes a reference to Clayton Valley, but not to Mount Diablo Unified School District. So I question whether the audience itself knows that it has anything to do with the district.
I know that we do have a link to it from our website about our board meetings. So that's the one place that I had heard about the radio station. Trustee Mayo?
I'm hearing that perhaps the attachment to the radio station is sentimental and passe, but I do believe that there is value in exploring at least the license and perhaps looking at the possibility of other programs. When we were looking at this in 2012, I asked questions whether it could be moved to one of the other high schools. Then it wasn't feasible because of the antenna. I have often wondered whether it could be an adult education program at Loma Vista High School, Loma Vista Adult Ed Campus. And that would be convenient for students from all of our high schools to participate in an evening program. And, in parallel to Dr. Clark's comments about CTE, students that are really interested in this program are willing to commit the time and dedicate, their learning to running the program. When we've had previous discussions about the station, the room would be packed and we would, I won't say spend hours, that's an exaggeration. We would have an hour public comment on just maintaining the radio station and how people felt it was valued. One of the first things that occurred for me as a new trustee was that my daughter was surprised to hear my voice on the radio as she drove home from work. And she said, "Mom, I can't get away from you." But I wonder, the question about the ratings and who's perhaps listening is something we should be shouting out. Hey, listen, we've got some commercial-free music for you to listen to throughout the day. The only interruption is school board meetings. And that would be perhaps attractive to some of our community members out there. We may be very surprised that there's a loyal listening audience, even to taped loop music.
Trustee Mason?
I was just going to echo pretty much what Trustee Mayo said. At this point, I don't know the timeliness, how quick we have to make a decision, but I would like more information as far as, I agree with Dr. Clark, it is a natural link with CTEG. Is there a program that's already out there that might want to hook up with it and bring it to their site? And so I would just need a little more information about what we're talking about with cost, what the timeline is, and if there is an interest. We had someone tonight that said, some of the alumni would be willing to come back and help with it. I happen to know someone who is in radio currently. I could talk with him and see if there's any interest on that end about getting involved. So I just would like a little more information before I make an official decision.
Thank you, Trustee Mason. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. After the speakers tonight showed interest in helping, I think a big decision there would be whether it is able to be relocated to a Mount Diablo site. Would really, I think, be a factor in us providing programming like that. Yeah.
So just one.
Trustee Mayo.
Oh, excuse me. I was interrupting
Mr. Alvarado, go ahead, and then Trustee Mayo.
I would just point out that there are deadlines in terms of the renewal process itself. So we will intend to proceed with the renewal. With your approval, we intend as well to maintain it operational to the extent that we need to as part of the renewal process. So that's feasible, and we can do that. And then we can bring you additional information in terms of the feasibility of moving it elsewhere, as well as more concrete numbers as to what the value of the license is and what the feasibility of actually marketing it is or leasing it is, leasing the radio station. I do also want to point out that it is a non-commercial radio station. It can only be marketed to nonprofit agencies. It is not a commercial radio station that can be sold in the open market.
So my question was around if we were to sell the license, is that treated like other property sales in that only the funds can only be used on property reinvestment, construction reinvestment? Can you provide us with further advice on that? If we were to sell it, how can we use the funds derived from the sale of the radio station?
All right. So I would need additional research on that issue. I can tell you that the property itself is not considered a shadow. I'm sorry, a real estate property.
Right.
That the funding currently for the station is from the general funds. So I would assume that the sale of the license as an asset, much like a license, much like any other non-real estate asset, would be allocated to the general fund of the radio station. That would not have limits as would, for example, for the sale of a building. Nevertheless, I do need to do more research because there is a lot of regulations that are unique to a radio station. This is a heavily regulated industry by the Federal Communications Commission. And there are very few school districts that actually maintain this resource. So I will need additional time, and I can bring that to you in the future.
Okay, thank you very much.
Trustee Nzewi.
This was the best kept secret that I only found out when the agenda was released on Friday. So I have actually no nostalgia for it, but I was like, oh my gosh, we have a radio station. That's how excited I was. So I have no question. All I have is I feel like if people knew, they would be excited too. And I would love for us to explore any funding opportunities from outside resources, explore, as we heard, I'm like, what a refreshing public comment period on a different topic, like that other people saw. We have a radio station that if more people know, I really feel like there would be community support in that it wouldn't have to necessarily be a drain on our current resources, that we could really seek out and find resources to support this fabulous asset. Like it reminded me when I arrived at college, I went to UC Berkeley. You all know that because I say it all the time, but sorry. But that there was a radio station there. And for a second I signed up to join and learn, and then I chickened out. And so maybe this is me reliving my youth or something, but it just seems like such a good opportunity for students of all ages to be able to learn this area, this field, as it was mentioned in public comment, the profession or the podcast is such a thing now, which is basically radio with a starting and an end and recording. But I just feel like it could have such value to our community, and we might find the support to be able to do all the things we need to do to make it real without impacting our general fund dollars, that we could find outside support. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Nzewi. Yeah, that would be the goal. I mean, I know there's a nonprofit in Oakland called Women's Audio Mission, that their whole goal is to particularly provide the opportunity to female students, students of color, to have the opportunity to project their voice, to produce sound, and to learn all of those skills that are related, the technology side, the speaking side, all of it. And so there are organizations like that out there. So that would be the question: is there a nonprofit kind of like that we could lease this to, and then potentially that opportunity would be available to our students, that kind of thing. So a lot of exciting possibilities. So it looks like we do tonight at least need a motion on the renewal of the license to take action there. Do I hear any motions? Trustee McFerrin?
I move that we act on renewing the license.
I'll second that.
All right, thank you. Motion by Trustee McFerrin, second by Trustee Mason. Any other discussion? We'll take it to a vote. Oh, discussion. Trustee McFerrin, go ahead.
just really briefly, I want to say that I also really appreciated the public comment on this item. And it was really wonderful to hear how some students took this class in high school and it really kind of influenced and supported them in their careers that they have today. And as they were speaking, I thought about, and I wrote down in my notes, transferable skills. And I was thinking, of the English standards, which are of course the ones I'm most familiar with, which includes speaking and listening. And so I would be really excited to see kind of what student interest is and how we could kind of modernize this offering and see kind of if students would be interested, because I would very much like to see that if this is something our students would like.
Thank you, Trustee McFerrin. Trustee Ellis?
Yeah, I have one more thing too. As we're moving forward and hopefully helping promote the radio station, it'd be awesome to see to get updated regularly on those rates and how we are serving our community members moving forward. Yeah.
Thank you, Trustee Ellis. All right. Okay, with that, we'll put this motion to a vote. Trustee Ellis?
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin?
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi?
Yes.
Trustee Mayo?
Yes.
Trustee Mason?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. So, Mr. Alvarado, that was item 1 that you wanted the board to take action on. There was a second item though, right, that you were looking for direction from the board on?
Right, and I think we discussed it as well, which is the continued operation and or potentially having contact with an outside provider who can give us information as to the potential valuation of the license or explore sales and or lease opportunities, which is something that you've indicated as well the board has an interest in at the very least being informed on. So
great. All right, so that's enough direction for you at this point. I don't think there's a specific motion, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Any other comments on this item? Great, all right, thank you very much, everyone. Okay, let's see. I've lost my place entirely. Okay, we're item 11.3. Thank you very much. Review the increase and decrease of certificated personnel full-time equivalent for the 2020, 2021, and 2021-22 school years.
Again, this is an info item, and I have Dr. Rubio here to present or to see if there's any questions from the trustees.
Good evening. As Dr. Clark said, this is informational for you. Every board meeting showing sometimes our changes in processes in terms of increases in support or changing of funding. And this is for certificated positions.
Thank you. Trustees, any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to item 11.4, review the increase and decrease of classified personnel FTE for the 2020-2021 school year.
Similar to the last item, this shows for classified personnel, sometimes when we're creating positions or we're changing positions and funding or eliminating vacant positions, etc.
Thank you, Mr.
Also
Rubio.
information.
All right, any questions or comments on this item? All right, seeing none, thank you very much, Dr. Rubio. Moving on to item 11.5, review and potential approval of adjustments to classified position control for the 2021-22 school year.
That's Dr. Rubio as well.
Sure. As an addendum to the last board meeting, as planning is occurring and school site councils and parent groups are meeting at the school sites and planning the budgets for next year, there are additional changes and increases from the fiscal departments that work with HR to create and change different positions. So this is additional information in terms of planning for next year, where we are requesting action.
Thank you, Dr. Rubio. Do we have a motion?
Madam President, I move the board approve the classified position control adjustments for the 21-22 school year.
Thank you, Trustee Mayo. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Nzewi. Motion by Trustee Mayo, second by Trustee Nzewi. Any discussion or questions? With that, we'll move it to a vote. Trustee Alas.
Yes.
Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
Trustee Mason.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Rubio. Okay, with that, we are at 12.0 board member reports. Let's see who would like to go first. Trustee Alas, how about you go first?
Absolutely. So my report is going to be short this time. I attended a DLAC meeting last week and spoke at the very beginning in Spanish, gave a whole announcement in Spanish about my SSAC once again. So that was a very exciting meeting. I was happy to be there. And the Student Advisory Committee for the Mount Diablo Education Foundation is putting on a slam poetry night in April, if I can double check the date. I believe it is April 16th. And we have a Google form to fill out. We are bringing the first ever inaugural MDUSD Slam Poetry Night to everyone in MDUSD over Zoom. This event aims to unite the MDUSD community by opening the event to all MDUSD students, families, teachers, and administrators. We encourage students, teachers, and administrators to recite a poem of their choice, original or not. You can write what you want, or you can recite a poem that's already been written of any topic. However, we have, a couple guidelines which you can read on the form. If you fill out the form, this simply demonstrates your interest in attending. Doesn't mean that you have to be a speaker. And the form, I shortened the URL, so I'm putting it in the chat as well, but it should be tinyurl.com/MDUSD slam poetry. So once again, this is going to be over Zoom, and this is it's going to be a great time. Furthermore, I would just like to really thank especially the administration at my school site, the vice principals and the principals who have been working so hard, and the teachers who have been working so hard to get students back on campus and to use our 2-hour block as effectively as possible. I know that teachers, educators, administrators at every site are working incredibly hard now that it's up to their prerogative now. So it's been at the district level, and it's been in staff's hands for so long, and now it's like everyone's trying to figure out what to do. And I know that there's a lot of work being put in, and I know that there's a lot of time and effort being put in, and that there are questions that are still unanswered, but everyone is doing the best they can to make sure that students get the most benefit out of these 2 hours as possible. So thank you very much, and I'm excited that we're going to start seeing students back on campus very soon. That's it from me.
Thank you so much, Trustee Alas. And yes, I think they were really happy to hear from you at the DLAC meeting for sure. All right, next, Trustee Mason.
I too was on the DLAC for the first part of the meeting, and then I had to exit that one to go over to the Measure C, and I missed the Measure J, so I'm going to have to figure that out in the future. But I think the Measure committees only meet quarterly, so I should be able to figure that out. I went to those. I attended a equity talk on women leaders in education, which was very interesting, talking about it's being Women's Month, about how women have come up against lots of barriers and how they keep trying to break that glass ceiling. We're getting some progress there. And then I also attended a webinar about the new funding that's coming down, the American Relief Act, and how we are never going to see funding like this again for schools. And it's really important that we're thoughtful and think about improvements we can make that will go beyond pandemic improvements. They talked about things as far as bandwidth and HVAC, anything around those that you need to do, you can use these dollars to do it. And probably more importantly, these dollars will be available probably through September 2024, for sure through September 2023. But the last update I heard is probably through 2024 as well. So I hope we can get a real thoughtful process going on and make changes that will not only make all of our students safer, but take our schools into the next generation where we want them to be. That's it. Oh, and one question for Trustee Allis over there. Do you go and register just to listen to the slam poetry?
Yeah, so the form is just for anyone who's going to attend, just so we can get kind of a head count and let us know if we're going to have like over 100 people, because I know that some Zooms have an over 100 people limit. Don't know if we're going to get that many people. It'd be awesome if we did. Please come. We will get more Zoom. But yes, that's just for our account. So, and then there's a little question on there that says if you want to perform a poem. But let's say that you go and you hadn't signed up, we're going to offer time for people to just speak if they want to as well.
You're going to have open mic, huh?
Right. Fantastic. I think that's going to be a fun night. All right. Trustee Nzewi.
Good evening. Hold on. Okay. So the first two things I'm gonna just mention and then punt to my esteemed colleagues, because hopefully it's on their list as well. I was able to participate in 2 legislative meetings for the California School Board Association Legislative Action Week last week with President Khan and board members from surrounding districts. And I'll leave the details to our president, because I assume she's going to talk about that. And then Trustee McFerrin and I did, now I have a new term, did a 2x2 from Pittsburgh, a 2x2 with Concord City Council members Burson and Ombringer to discuss how we can build a stronger bridge between the City of Concord and the MDUSD schools in Concord. But again, I will leave the details to Trustee McFerrin. Tomorrow at 4 o'clock is the next Anti-Bias, Anti-Racism Advisory Committee meeting. I'm really excited to see the committee grow with parents and teachers and students and community members. I think that it's imperative in order for it to be effective to have all of those people represented. I'm excited that our MDUSD community will have a mechanism to prevent bias and racism in our district, especially if it is led by MDUSD community members who are committed to real concrete action steps to create a truly inclusive community. At 2 board meetings now, we've had students bring up the importance of excused absences for mental health in order to normalize the need to take care of one's emotional well-being. And they are supporting a bill in the California legislature, which is SB 14, which if signed into law will have the Department of Education add to their illness verification regulations to account for including a pupil's absence for the benefit of the pupil's mental or behavioral health. The bill passed unanimously last week out of the Education Committee and is in appropriations. So should it survive appropriations, if you know the I'm Just a Bill, Schoolhouse Rock, this is the committee where things go to die. But if it does survive, I will strongly encourage this board to provide a letter of support to encourage the full Senate to pass the bill. As we've heard throughout this pandemic, the toll it's taken on students' mental health, I believe this is one step towards mass healing we should all take. And then for the last couple of months, I've been pondering, as well as asking teachers, asking parents, other people in my sphere, how do we ensure that when we emerge from this pandemic, it's not back to the status quo, which doesn't work for so many students and families. A few meetings ago, I brought up the learnings I acquired from an anti-racist grading in a pandemic webinar hosted by Shane Saphir and Jamila Dugan. This weekend, I bought their new book, which was just published. It's called Street Data, a next generation model for equity, pedagogy, and school transformation. This is a big step for me because I do not read nonfiction, but I've committed to doing so with this book. Especially because it offers tools that can be applied immediately. So I have at least one teacher reading this book with me, and I invite others to grab a copy and read. So maybe we could discuss later this spring. So it's called Street Data, the next generation model for equity, pedagogy, and school transformation. And finally, tomorrow, our littlest students, today's Wednesday, right? Tomorrow's Thursday, our littlest students return to school and our bigger students return on Monday. And I just hope that everyone, my wish for everyone is that we provide grace for ourselves as parents, for our students, for our teachers, administrators, everyone who's on the school campus making this possible. I know that in my own circle, there's just a lot of I don't know what's happening. And I think that's okay. We didn't know what was happening at the beginning of the school year, and we will get through this initial opening, and to just not stress out about it. It will be, and it'll be okay. So that's it.
Thank you, Trustee Nzeri. Trustee Mayo.
Thank you. I thought I was going to be last. I did make it to the Measure J and Measure C Bond Oversight Committee meetings, although I wasn't in attendance for Measure C for the entire session. But you are right, Mrs. Mason, there are meetings that overlap, whether they're for other groups that we're involved with or with the school district. As I've been reporting all along, the Contra Costa County Science and Engineering Fair happened on March 12th. It was a resounding success, even though it was virtual. We had 96 projects entered and more than 100 judges and tech team volunteers participated. Every project was evaluated by at least 6 judges for the poster and the interview portion of the contest. We had an increase in entries by women and by students of color and in the complexity level, and only 4 of the 96 projects enters received a 4th place. So all of the chief judges commented on the increase in the work of the students. 6 entries, I'm proud to say, were from the Mount Diablo Unified School District, and that's thanks to the Mount Diablo Education Association Student Advisory Committee. They helped push it at all of the school sites. We had 1 first, 3 seconds, 2 thirds, and 1 of those received a cash prize. Elise Contreras from Northgate High School in the biological category received a 3rd. Angelo Ledesma from Pine Hollow Middle School received a 1st placed in biological category. Andrea Rosemarin from Pleasant Hill Middle School in the biological category received a 3rd place and a cash prize. Jonathan Yu from Northgate High School in engineering received a 2nd place. John Linz from Northgate High School in the physical category received a 2nd place, and Aaron Weber from Northgate High School received a 2nd place in the physical category. Another exciting event, and why I wasn't participating in the CSBA Legislative Day, was the BEST Day that was held on March 17th, which is business and educators shadowing together. And I may be using the old name for that particular program. It was held its 22nd year and was sponsored by Chevron this year, Mount Diablo School District, and Bay Area Leads. 16 industry partners welcomed teachers to virtual experiences and interviews with their employees. More than 35 educators participated, and the morning speaker was Kevin Fleming, whose video presentation on success in the new economy is very popular among the CTE circles. He emphasizes that every student that has a CTE coursework in their portfolio, as well as they may have a CTE certificate, is more apt to be selected by colleges and universities, as well as for jobs of the future. During the lunch panel, there were 3 individuals from very different careers that spoke about their career choices and how they, 2 of them who were women, ended up in different careers than they originally chose, and how that was transformational for them. The other thing that was interesting, and a side note, was both of these women who were ice skaters as young teens and competed in competitions for ice skating. Some takeaways by the teachers shared, including the importance of teaching students about taking advantage of opportunities, identifying trends and anticipating future trends, and the value of welcoming diverse ideas. The closing speaker was Bobby Ram, who is a retired co-founder from SunPower, which is now a $400 billion company. He was, as I said, he was one of the founders, and now he's the Chief Operating Officer for Optivolt, O-P-T-I-V-O-L-T, that is developing technology for every type of vehicle so they can use solar to run the vehicles. He shared his insight into the return on investment for having access to a more diverse applicant pool because of public education success. He is a strong supporter of public education, and it was refreshing to hear his comments. He spoke about the authentic and measurable value of diversity and inclusion, whether it's gender, race, ethnicity, political, religious, or anything you can think of, because in the workforce, because from the standpoint that it increases innovation, productivity, and financial rewards for the company, not only locally, but nationally and internationally. And this is something that I have always felt very strongly about, and I know that many in Mount Diablo School District do. And this is one of the greatest assets of our district, is our diversity across all corners of our district. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Trustee Mayo. And yes, that Best Day event every year, they top each other. They top it every year with more amazing companies and people involved, and more partnerships for our school district. It's really incredible. Go ahead, Trustee Mayo.
I apologize. I wanted to ask that we close the meeting in the memory of Major General Daniel Helix, a former Concord mayor, and he passed away a couple weeks ago. He worked very closely with the Mount Diablo School District on many initiatives, including our 1988 Measure A, Mello-Roos Measure A campaign, and he and I were co-chairs together. And he has supported, as I said, the district in many of its initiatives. Councilman Eddie Beerson said he had a pro-civil rights attitude towards all minorities, and I can attest to that. And one thing I did not know about him was that he was a history and social science teacher at Berkeley High School for 7 years. So he was a man of many talents, and he will be missed by our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Mayo. Thank you very much. Trustee McFerrin.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I only have a few short comments to share this evening. Normally, I like to share out the details from recent district meetings I've attended, but none of the groups I meet with have had meetings in the last couple of weeks. I want to start by thanking students Anahi Nava Flores, Ineli Martinez, and Alondra Lopez for speaking up at recent board meetings. They created a proposal advocating for excused absences for mental health. And as they researched this topic, they found out that California State Senator Anthony Pornatino had written Senate Bill 14, which Trustee Nzewi mentioned in her report. So Ms. Navia Flores, Ms. Martinez, and Ms. Lopez have said, we are trying to remove the negative stigma that mental health has in our communities. We can do this by talking to our peers and other adults we trust about how we have been feeling. Our mental health affects our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. For example, when someone is feeling depressed, they are distracted from doing schoolwork, not trying their best in academics, easily upset at anything, being closed off, and overall not having the right mindset. Taking care of student mental health should be a priority. By supporting this bill, you would show students how important their mental health is. I agree with these students wholeheartedly that improving our efforts to address mental health is an essential need for our student population. Promoting wellness and destigmatizing mental health issues are tasks that we must continue to address in every way that we can. So in the coming weeks, I'm going to be doing more research on Senate Bill 14, and I'm hopeful that it materializes. Last Thursday, I attended an information session with the Contra Costa Crisis Center. And so in June, I'm going to start the 54-hour training to become a call center volunteer. And I really am very much looking forward to serving our community in this new role. As mentioned by Trustee Nzewi last week, I met with her and with Concord City Council members Carlin Obringer and Eddie Brisson about establishing clear communication channels between MDUSD and the City of Concord. And so that's very exciting. I also want to share that the next ABAR Advisory Committee, the Anti-Bias, Anti-Racist Advisory Committee, will be meeting tomorrow from 4 to 5:30, and that everyone is welcome. I want to thank everyone for their hard work in preparing our school sites. I want to thank our parents and guardians for sticking this out with us, even if they haven't always done so. I know that this year has been incredibly difficult and even almost unbearable at times. I want to share something that I've been thinking a lot about. I'm reminded that several years ago at my day job, I read an article about something called the warm demander. And this is an educator that has high expectations for students, but who effectively conveys personal warmth as well. And in that article, I remember a line that read, "Your students aren't giving you a hard time, they are having a hard time." I think this is absolutely true. And I think it's a salient point in this moment in time. I want to acknowledge that many of our students, parents, and guardians are having a very hard time this year. And that said, I want to share that I personally feel incredibly optimistic about the remainder of this school year and about our prospects for fall. I want to wish everyone the best of luck tomorrow and next Monday as our students return to our campuses.
Thank you so much, Trustee McFerrin. All right. So briefly from me as well here. The DLAC meeting was really fantastic. I enjoyed hearing from United Latino Voices and encourage people to invite them to PTA and ELAC meetings. They had a lot of great information about COVID precautions, as well as how to be able to access the vaccine, and I think some little known facts as well, like the fact that if you go to a COVID test site and you get your COVID test, and now you're supposed to quarantine and you can't do that because you live in, with a number of other family members in close quarters, a site can actually be provided to you for that for free. So they have a lot of really great information for people to be able to access, for our families to be able to access, and to know about that regardless of your documentation, that you can access these resources for our health. So I thought that was pretty fantastic. The CSBA Ledge Action Week, as was mentioned, was a great thing to be able to attend and meet with each of our senators and assembly members. We met with Senator Glazer, Dodd, Assembly members Bauer, Kahan, and Grayson. I really wanted to especially appreciate Assembly member Rebecca Bauer Kahan and Senator Dodd, who each personally attended these meetings with school board members to share their insights and challenges. And those two in particular have a dedication to fully funding education. Not just temporarily here for COVID, but really ongoing in the state of California, which is what we ultimately need, as well as the Broadband for All initiatives that we need, not just in the short term, but in the long term, for all of our students and community members to be able to access high-speed broadband internet, regardless of a person's income level or documentation or any of those things. So that was really great to be able to connect with them directly. Also had the opportunity to attend the Bancroft PFC meeting and held a Q&A with parents there about the school reopening. They had a lot of great questions and a really excellent team that I can see is working hard to make sure that they're ready to have students on their campus, and all team members really working to make that happen. So that was great. Also did receive a message from Lisa Delano from our Diablo Valley Moms Demand Action, reminding us of the importance of gun safety. So the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic has significantly disrupted the lives of teens and young adults well beyond the illness itself. A study from the CDC found that a quarter of young adults have contemplated suicide during the pandemic. Experts are concerned that social isolation, along with fear about the virus, can increase feelings of anxiety and loneliness, two factors that elevate the risk of suicide for people of all ages. This comes at a time when the US has seen a surge in gun sales. Driven by fear and anxiety during the COVID-19 pandemic, people bought an estimated 11.8 million guns in the 6-month period from March through August 2020. So the COVID-19 crisis also created new challenges for parents, kids out of school and spending more time at home, feeling isolated. So the important thing here is to remember that we need to secure all guns in the home, store them locked, unloaded, and separate from ammunition. This can save people's lives. You may have read about the 11-year-old from Lodi who took his own life, and safe storage could have saved his life. So the resource that everyone can share out is besmartforkids.org, and reminding all parents and guardians of your responsibilities for keeping firearms out of the hands of children. It is actually a California law that you will be held criminally responsible for. And so the important thing is to store firearms in a safe and secure manner, including keeping them locked up when not in use and storing them separately from ammunition. So the Be Smart for Kids website has lots of great resources, including this cool graphic about how to be smart and secure your guns. And as our students come back on the campuses starting tomorrow morning, we really hope that everybody takes this very, very seriously so that we can make sure to all be safe as we support our students in their social emotional health and interactions with other students and with our teachers. Lastly, I just wanted to say thank you to every principal, every teacher, nurse, custodian, all staff members who have worked tirelessly to organize for students to come in person starting tomorrow. There are so many details to organize and decide and communicate out. And I just really appreciate the creativity and the joy that so many of you have brought to this process, because it is bumpy and uncertain, but I've seen colorful signs being created to welcome students. I've seen bilingual videos created for families, Q&A coffee sessions, tours, both in person and virtual video tours. It's just each one of those special touches is going to make such a difference for tomorrow. And I also wanted to say, as Trustee Nzewi did, let's give everyone as much grace as we can, because we know that each one of those bumps in the road that we hit along the way is a chance to learn and adjust and improve. And the way that we model a positive attitude and a learning mindset, our students and our children are going to take that same positive mindset as well when they go to school. So looking forward to being out there at the school sites tomorrow and seeing how this all rolls out. And with that is the end of our board reports. And Dr. Clark, you've just relocated so that we can hear you. I appreciate that. We were all in the same boardroom here, but now Dr. Clark is over in his office. So
Wow.
Dr. Clark, I'm going to hand it over to you for 13.1 and to the superintendent's report and update on the reopening of schools.
So with all transparency, I ran out of the room because my battery was about to die. So I got to bring my
that too.
back.
Okay.
I got to bring
But
the
now we
charger
can see
back
you
in
without
the-
your mask.
in the boardroom. I'd be more than happy to put my mask back on, but I'm here in my office. So if I could have tech bring up, yes, great. This is the one. So I have just a I'm going to give some basic updates, and then I'll do a formal reopening presentation right after this. But they both will be rather short. So can I please have the next slide? So in-person school, I thought this was a cute picture here. Tomorrow is sort of our do-over for that first day of school. I fully understand that we have had school all year. We're actually into our, we've completed 3/4 of school, but this is actually in person for some of our students. And so I do want to acknowledge that we have many students who will continue on distance learning, but we are very excited for the first day of in-person kindergarten and other grades. But I have a special place in my heart for kindergarten, so I can't wait to see kindergartners tomorrow. Can I have the next slide, please? And I just, I cannot thank enough, the Mount Diablo team that has really come together under challenging circumstances. And what those circumstances are is just the news, the guidance, the direction has changed so much. Just, we really have proven that many departments are very flexible and can definitely change on a dime. And so I want to recognize that with transportation, with maintenance and operations, with our office managers, school secretaries, certificated staff that man our offices throughout the district, our instructional assistants, more classified staff, all of those folks who support students in non-teaching roles. I want to recognize them. Of course, I want to thank our teachers who have been delivering instruction to students all of this time. And now, again, we're asking them to pivot and welcome students back face-to-face tomorrow. And so I want to thank all of them. And then, of course, I want to thank our administrators, our school principals. I mean, the duties of a school principal just go on and on. They really are running small little cities that that have so many moving parts. And I really want to acknowledge them and thank them for their efforts and their professionalism and all that they're doing to pivot and to support our students and families. Can I have the next slide, please? So I do want to, this is an important time, and COVID has not taken this away from us, but the Contra Costa County Office of Ed does a wonderful program every year with recognizing Teachers of the Year. And so this year, we were so thrilled and so privileged to have 5 finalists. And so David Hunter from the Bridge Program, Jim Keck from College Park High School, Elizabeth McDonough from Prospect High School, and Alyssa Mendoza from Sequoia Middle School, and Chelsea Redenauer from Diablo View Middle School. Those were our 5 finalists, and I know that we have dozens and dozens and maybe even hundreds of others that could have been on this list, but for this year, these were our 5 finalists. And so we're going to do a great deal over the next months to recognize them and recognize their contributions. But I would like to announce our 2 Teacher of the Years. And so if I could have the next slide, drum roll. And that would be Elizabeth McDonough and Chelsea Redenauer. Elizabeth from Prospect High and Chelsea from Diablo V Middle School. And we're going to hear so much about them, and they're going to represent Mount Diablo within the county, and we're just very proud of these 2. And at a future board meeting, we will definitely have them. They're going to be so sick of hearing about themselves. As you well know, most educators, they don't like the spotlight. They like to just do their work and move on about their day. And so I don't know these 2 individuals personally, just because of the circumstances, but I'm guessing if they're like many of our other teachers, they would rather just put their heads down, serve their students, and do their work. But we are going to recognize them. We are going to spoil them, and we're going to sing their praises until they are just so embarrassed they're begging us to stop. So anyway, thank you to these 2, and thank you for our 5 finalists and everyone else who participated in this great program that the county office puts on every year. So yes, nice round of applause for them. Can I have the next slide, please? So I also wanted to announce, although Trustee Alas has really set the bar high, it is coming up on that time where we are going to be recruiting a new student board member, and I just wanted to lay out sort of our communication kind of plan. This is just how we did it this year as we brought on Trustee Alas, but we're going to announce this. There's going to be applications that can be either submitted online or emailed, or they could drop them off in person. We'll review them here at the district office and executive cabinet, and then we'll present a slate to the board, and then the board will make the final decision on our next student board member. Can I have the next slide, please? And then just for those of you out there, and I know we have lots of parents out there, so maybe parents need to encourage their students, but we did just want to say that the qualifications: student must be enrolled in one of our high schools, student must hold and maintain 2.0 grade point average, and the student must be enrolled in at least 20 credits. So again, just super excited. Can I have the last slide, please? And then just these questions, just so we can start thinking, why do you want to serve on the board? If chosen, what ideas do you have to improve communication and collaboration between students and the school board? And what would you consider the most challenging issues facing kindergarten through 12th grade? So again, those are our essay prompts. And so again, we'll submit a timeline very shortly. This whole process only takes about a month or so. So we do have a little bit of time, but we do want to bring a finalist to the board, I would say at the middle to end of May, so that person can be ready to step in once our first student board member steps off into new endeavors. And please leave it on this slide, because this is the last one. But I do just want to make an announcement. At our last week, our adult education program was reviewed by by WASC, and went through, and my notes are still in the boardroom, but they went through a very heavy duty review on our program, and the programs that we're offering to our adult students who take advantage of our adult education programs. And they had reviewers from, there was a gentleman from Utah, there was a woman from Michigan, there was a woman from Ohio, and they were just so complimentary of the staff and just the work and the program that we have there. We were so proud of the words that were spoken. And then the next day, we had a report out from WASC, which all of our secondary schools, our high schools and adult ed go through. And again, the feedback was just very, very positive. So adult school is one of those things that kind of operate under the radar, but they offer opportunities and experiences for young and older adults that are just truly amazing. And so it was great to see Victoria Abbott, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce your last name, but again, the administrator. Thank you. I knew I was going to jumble it, so I just gave it a puncher's try. But she was just hailed throughout this process. Her team, she was just so complimentary of her team and everyone pulling together for this. And so I did want to just take a moment to recognize them for their work. They often go unnoticed and under the radar, but they were recognized at the national level for their great work. So with that, if I could have Tech bring up my other presentation as I talk about something that we haven't talked about much, about reopening schools, but
Dr. Clark, can we just pause for a minute for any comments on the first piece?
Yeah, on the announcements, absolutely.
Yeah, I just wanted to open that up. I know. Go ahead, Trustee McFerrin.
I just have a question about the student board member position. I didn't see anything about a requirement that the student be like a junior or a senior or any particular grade level. So I just wanted to ask about that, if that's okay.
Gotta ask. Maybe we should ask our student board member. She wrote the policy. I believe it's a senior, but go ahead, Trustee Alas. Oh, she might be having computer issues. So I believe it's a senior.
Wait, you can't hear her? She was just speaking. We could hear her in here.
Can't hear.
Oh, goodness. Trustee Alas?
Could you hear me?
All right, now I can hear you.
Yeah? Okay, go ahead.
No, we're hearing you through Sharice.
Oh.
See,
Speak
I'm
over
not-
here.
Yeah, sorry, I had to hop onto a different computer. But everyone can hear me okay? Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
I just recently received this question from someone, a parent at the DLAC meeting. So I combed once again through the bylaws because I believe I didn't specify, and it doesn't specify anywhere what grade they need to be in. Preferably, it'd be someone who is a junior or senior, someone who has more experience in the school district. But and I saw on your slide that they have to have a minimum of 20 credits. But it doesn't specify what grade they need to be in. So nothing in the bylaws.
Right.
Thank you, Trustee Ellis. It's good to have your expertise here. And I would imagine, Trustee Ellis, that if students are interested in the position, they may be able to contact you to ask you more about the position and what it's like.
My email is on the district website, alisem@mgsd.org. So that's ALASM@mgsd.org. And I respond to emails as best as I can. So please contact me if you have any questions. And sorry about the audio. I will see if I can figure that out.
No, you're speaking loudly enough, I think. Thank you. Yeah, and you know, I think take advantage of that, students, because Trustee Ellis not only has the experience of having brought this to our board, this position to our board, and holding the position for the first year, but she's also, I know, in contact with student board members from all across the state, and so is very aware of the potential of the position as well. So really, let's take advantage of her expertise while we have it. Great. And Dr. Clark, on the adult ed WASC, just congratulations to everyone in adult ed. It's wonderful to hear about these accomplishments. We would love to hear more about adult ed. I don't think we've had the opportunity to have a presentation since our new board members have joined. I know during CSBA Ledge Week, we did advocate for adult ed in addition to our TK to 12, particularly around the fact that adult ed was not included in the COLA increase in the proposed budget, and really should be. So hopefully we can continue to support our adult education programs, not only in our district, but statewide as well. So thank you. Were there any other?
Previous trustee Durkee would have been very proud.
That's right. That's right. She taught us well. And she is still very active, I think, in advocating for adult ed. So yes. Any other trustee comments before we move on to reopening? Okay, go ahead, Dr. Clark. Thank you.
All right. If I could have Tech bring up the second presentation. Great. So next slide. So again, just very significant dates. We have tomorrow, which I can't believe is actually here. We have the 25th, where preschool, TK, K, first, second, SDC, and Bridge will be returning. Half of those students will be returning. We're very excited for them to return. And Monday, we're going to start it all over again. We're going to get through the week. We're going to take a break. We're going to reassess, and then we're going to be back at it. So can I have the next slide? So the majority of this presentation is around safety, and this was the majority of this presentation was developed by our business department. So I'm not here to take credit for all of this. This is something the business department put together. But I will present because safety is so important. And I know, believe me, I know about the 3-foot guidance that came out. I had heard about it before it was even publicized. And so we're well aware of that. And but at this point, like, our students have not been on campus in a year. And we heard from multiple parents that students were suffering emotionally and were having breakdowns and whatnot. And so that, what we wanted to do was to provide an immediate response to that, right? And so we need some time to make sure that all of the safety protocols that are included in the reopening frameworks the multiple reopening frame books and multiple versions of those, that we are crystal clear on our practices and our protocols, and that our staff are well trained and are able to put it in action. Our students are well trained and able to put it in action, and same with families. There's a commitment from families if we're going to bring large numbers of students back onto our campuses, and we all have to be on the same page. And so so as we go through the next couple of weeks, again, let's have patience. You know, let's meet the immediate needs of our students, and let us get excellent at doing that. And then, of course, we're going to look at the updated guidance. You know, one thing with COVID is that everything changes, right? So one day we're debating whether or not we're to wear masks, and then the next day, you know, everyone's wearing masks. We're debating one day if cheerleaders can cheer on the sidelines, and then the next day they can. You know, the same with our band students. They can't perform at football games, then they can. And the guidance continues to change. And so we just want to make sure that everyone is safe in what we're doing, and that we have the protocols and procedures that are appropriate for our students and for our families and for our staff. So just wanted to preface that. And as we look towards the fall, if we continue on the path that we are on, we plan to open up in the fall in full, you know, in full face-to-face, you know, with whatever restrictions are out there from the state and from the county. But our goal is to open up fully in the fall. That is our goal, and that's what we're working towards. And if we can open up now and do it excellent, that's going to improve our chances of a smooth summer and a smooth fall. Okay, so next slide, please. So again, if we just look, you know, a little more than a month ago, if we look at where those numbers were, 24 at the state, 18 at the county level. Can I have the next slide? And then at the beginning of March, we were at 10 cases per 100,000 at the state level, and 10.9 cases at the county level. Can I have the next slide, please? And when we had to put this together for this presentation, we pulled this last week, but the numbers are even better. So even at the state level, it's 6.5, and at our county level, it's 7.5. And yes, we are in the red tier. We more than likely will be moving into the orange tier in mid-April. So April 13th, April 20th, we should be moving into orange. And so, like I said, things are really improving. And we just want to continue with that. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but we also don't want to be so stagnant that we you know, get left behind. So again, you know, this board has been very methodical, has been very intentional, and we have moved forward in addressing these challenges with transparency. We've been open and honest, and we're still, I mean, that is still our mission and going forward. Can I have the next slide, please? So just some of, you know, what I'm going to discuss real quick is data on PPE, cleaning supplies, HVACs and MERVs, and COVID testing and contact tracing protocols. Can I have the next slide, please? So personal protective equipment, all of these, and I'm going to go into more detail, but all of these are at our school sites. They are out of the warehouse. We are emptying the warehouse and we are loading up the school sites. So disposable masks for students and staff, reusable masks for students and staff, N95 masks, KN95 masks, gowns, gloves, touchless thermometers. I'm not saying that these are for everybody, and you're going to see a chart in a couple slides of who they are for, but all of these are on every site in our district. Can I have the next slide, please? So again, this is just a continuation. So sites are sent mass quantities from our warehouse based on their enrollment numbers, staff numbers, and specific types of classrooms. Some items are intended for particular staff, and we have PPE for our classrooms and for our office staff. And when they run low, if they run low, they can request more. We do have access to more. Can I have the next slide? Again, even though we've emptied our warehouse, this is what we still have in our warehouse. So I've asked them to hold some of the stuff back, not to give it all out, but these were pictures that were just taken last week. So we have lots and lots and lots of PPE. And that is really what is going to help the safety of our students and our staff, is proper use of the PPE. Can I have the next slide, please? And so this is a chart that the county put out some time ago. I have to admit that some of this has changed, and I will say that it's changed in a direction to less restrictive, not more restrictive, but less restrictive. But here is where they lay out what is required PPE and what is what is optional. And so it goes down. And again, this presentation has been posted since Friday. And so if anyone wants to go back and look at it very closely to see exactly what is required and what is optional, this lays it out for all to see and to be very transparent in this process. Can I have the next slide, please? And this is what has been delivered to school sites. So you can see thermometers, you can see the hand sanitizers, you can see face shields, gowns, N95. We did fit a particular class of employee in our district who it was required for them to be fitted. It's not recommended that everyone get fitted for an N95 mask, but we did meet the requirements of who we needed to fit. We did go through that process. And then there's also the KN95 mask, which is a little different than the N95 mask. And there are over 5,000 of these that are available, and there's 10,000 more that are coming. And you can see the boxes and boxes of gloves that we have, and plenty more are still on the way. Next slide, please. And this is just, again, this is continued. So masks, again, 34,000 disposable masks. Another 29,000 were delivered this week, and we have 250,000 more that are coming. The student reusable masks, these aren't quite as popular as some of the disposable masks, but again, we have the reusable masks. We have the adult size student masks. We have again, student reusable adult size masks for our high school students and larger students. And then we have again, tons of thousands and thousands of masks for our staff. Can I have the next slide, please? So again, this is about the chemicals that we will be using, and so we have our chemicals that are listed out. Again, if anyone wants to do any additional research on that, you can. This is included in our safety handbook, and you can see the footnote at the bottom. Bright Solutions was added at the beginning of March. And it kills COVID within 1 minute. So we will be implementing those as well. Can I have the next slide, please? I talked about our custodial team. They're doing and they have done amazing work. But again, these are on our custodial page on our website of what they will be doing. Their expanded procedures, the all-purpose cleaners that they'll be using, and the protective equipment that they have to perform these duties is all very transparent and out in the open. Can I have the next slide, please? And this is, this is a germ buster. So this is one of those things where that gentleman can sanitize that entire room, all the surfaces on there, in a matter of minutes with this germ buster, and it sprays out a mist that takes just a couple minutes to dry, and then it sanitizes all of those areas. And so all of our custodians are equipped with these. We have hundreds of these machines, and they are distributed throughout the district at all sites. They've been in use. We've been using them, for months and months, and we'll continue to use them. So just wanted to give you that visual of what it actually looks like. Now the next slide, please. So again, when we're talking about ventilation, you know, it was recommended several months ago to move towards the MERV 13 filters, and so we have done so. I know that that we had some that were on back order. They have been delivered, they were installed, and they are you know, they are installed throughout the district, and those are our MERV 13 filters. We have had our in-house technicians check all of our HVAC systems. For the ones that weren't working, we went out and we repaired those. There are some where we have, you know, where we have some challenges over at Northgate, where we had to bring in a specialist, and we've had some challenges at Riverview. But again, if there's not a working HVAC and we can't supply the room with the MERV 13, we're gonna relocate that teacher, and if we can't relocate that teacher, we're gonna make air purifiers available. We are putting air purifiers in some of our classrooms. We're not putting them in all of our classrooms. Again, if we're following guidance, the guidance does not state that we have to have an air purifier in every single classroom, but we do have some classrooms where you know, where the HVACs have challenges, and the MERV 13s were either the system wouldn't take the MERV 13s, or they weren't able to fit there. But there is adequate ventilation throughout the district, and again, doors, windows, all of those things can be open, just to add to that. But again, it's the wearing of the masks, it's the washing of the hands, and it's the sanitation that is really going to be those safety protocols that are going to help this process. Can I have the next slide, please? So testing. So again, we ran testing today at all of our sites, and I just want to say that our turnout for testing has been very low, and we are in danger of losing our contract if we don't pick it up, because they're supplying the nurses to do this, and they're out at every site. And if we just still, I mean, we're trying to make it as convenient as possible for individuals to get tested, and I don't know if folks think because maybe they've been vaccinated that they don't need to be tested, but I know that the recommendations are that we still test. We are testing our athletes. We are, because of lack of staff utilization of the testing that we're offering, we are opening it up to community members and trying to utilize the services that we've contracted with. But again, you know, we want to encourage folks to get tested, and we are offering that. But again, you know, we can't continue to offer it at the widespread if folks aren't going to utilize it. So hopefully, with individuals coming back on campus and being there on campus and knowing, I mean, the whole process takes 20 seconds once you sit down in the chair, and so it's very simple. It's just swabbing a Q-tip like thing in your mouth. There's no nasal penetration or anything like that. It's more of a mouth swab. And so anyway, we're just encouraging that folks take advantage of the testing. Just in closing, I'm amazed at at how quickly things change. I mean, if we think back in November, early December, at the height of our spike, like a vaccination was something that was just starting to be discussed. And now to think that here we are at the end of March almost, and we're turning away offers to hold vaccination clinics on our campuses and things like that, and I can't give away vaccination codes. Folks are who wanted to get vaccinated have those opportunities. I got a message today that Brentwood had 1,000 openings for Saturday, but I didn't even send it out because every time I send out messages, it appears as if everyone has already been vaccinated who wanted to be vaccinated. So so again, the vaccinations are out there and the testing's available. So so we're gonna continue pushing forward. So that concludes my reopening update. I just want to say that again, I hear those folks loud and clear who have learned of the 3 feet new CDC guidance. I know of the temporary restraining order in Southern California. We're all well aware of that. It's been shared with this board, you know, and let us just open up and let us bring some kids back onto our campuses who are suffering so much, and let us work with these students for a while, and then we'll discuss this when it's appropriate at a much larger scale. So with that, if there's any questions from the trustees, I'd be happy to entertain those now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clark. Let me open it up to trustee questions. Trustee Nzewi.
On the last slide, I'm pretty certain that our testing is free because that last slide had a fee.
Right. It is 100% free. They do. I just pulled that off the website. Just
yeah.
So
I just
people-
want to make sure everybody knows that our testing is free 99. So so take advantage. And I would expect that people will take advantage as they get back on campus, that especially teachers and staff will want to do that on the regular, and hopefully the families that are attending. And then I would just reiterate what you said, like things are going really well, and there's new variants out there that are even more contagious and whatnot. And so I hope that in order to continue forward in the path that everyone wants to, that everyone does everything that they need to outside of the school to keep our community spread as low as possible. Don't let spring break be our Thanksgiving. That's all.
I would like to thank, second that. Trustee Nzewi, I was thinking the same thing. The faster we'll be able to move forward is the more we all take personal responsibility for continuing to be careful. I mean, I've now had both my vaccines, but if I go out to the store, I'm wearing a mask because it's not always about myself. It's about protecting the other people that are around me as well. So for all those parents that are getting anxious, like you said, let's not be Florida, let's not be Texas, let's be careful and thoughtful, wear our mask, wash our hands, keep our distance, and things will move forward much quicker.
Thank you, Trustee Nzewi and Trustee Mason. Any other trustee comments or questions? All right, with that, I would just like to say as well, to second what both of the other trustees just said, that when I read the CDC guidelines around 3 feet, what I also read there was that they were recommending that in situations where all other mitigation protocols are firmly in place. And that's exactly what I'm hearing you say, Dr. Clark, and I believe all the trustees here, that we need to get all of those protocols into place and into practice. We've had them on the plan, you know, and we've been working with you know, the number of adults that have been on our campuses this whole time. But it's a whole different scenario when we have you know, numbers of students coming in, and so our students need to practice it. Our teachers that are coming back to campus that haven't been there need to practice it, and as everyone has said, we all need to practice it over spring break and make sure that we don't have a spike right after that, that we come back to school safely. So, and I really appreciate the COVID testing that especially for our athletes right now. I think that's really key. We cannot let down our guard and just, you know, open up everything. Our students are not vaccinated yet. And so when they are out there on the football field, we want to keep regularly testing and monitoring and making sure, you know, that everybody is safe. So I really appreciate that the testing has been right there on campus, right? You know, I know our athletes just, you know, get their test and then they go to practice right there. And I think that's really fantastic. I was not aware that it was open to the community. So you're saying, like, if parents want to get tested, they could fill out that same form?
So yes, we sent out a community letter yesterday, and we invited parents to bring their students in. So
Right.
again, it's open to massive students.
Yes.
And again, if our numbers are still low, then we're going to start opening it up to all community members as well, like parents and siblings, right? I mean, if you have if you have, 4 people living in under one roof, and instead of just testing one, we're willing to test all of them. But again, if our numbers continue to dwindle, we're going to expand the testing, or we're going to have to look at other options.
We need to fill in those spaces. Yeah. Okay, great. So the parents piece hadn't started yet. So it was athletes, and then it was all of their students. And then you'll inform people when, if we need to, if we have the opportunity to be able to invite parents and family members as well. Okay, great. Yeah, thank you.
So we're really excited to see students, and usually on the we would invite board members out to come and visit, but we're going to try to limit the amount of folks who are on our campuses. Our principals have done a great job at communicating with their parents, and I was in on a parent meeting with Wren parents. I also did a parent meeting with Pleasant Hill Elementary School with their PTA, and really, I had no reason to be there because the principals have all the answers. They don't want to hear from me anymore, so that's fine, right? I'm more than happy to hand it off to our wonderful principals and for the staffs at the schools, and really probably the office managers, because I know every principal has an office manager who's really helping them along the way and really guiding all of this. So again, it's just a big win for our students, and I think staff is going to be pleasantly surprised when they just see how excited our students are, but how they don't want to mess this up either. So they're going to be washing their hands and following the protocols and being on their best P's and Q's, because they're excited. They've missed school, and they want nothing more than to be back in the classroom. And as I've talked to other districts and folks who have already gone back and opened, they just say how amazing the students are when they come back, that they're just so grateful. So anyway, I can't wait to see that tomorrow, and I'm just really excited.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'm just really grateful for your leadership, Dr. Clark, through this entire process this year. I think you've been steady and methodical and clear, and that's what we have needed, because it's really choppy waters out there. As you said, the protocols are changing, all the time. But I think we've had a very clear plan, and we're moving forward with it, and we're going to make sure that it's working before we make it the next kind of change. So really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank the board too for their support.
Okay. All right. Moving on with our agenda. Okay. So next is our consent agenda. Item 14.1, items listed under consent agenda are considered routine and will be approved, adopted by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. However, any item may be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any member of the board and acted upon separately. Are there any items, trustees, that you would like to remove? Trustee Nzewi.
I'd like to remove item 14.2, review and potential approval of contract with Apex.
Okay, thank you. Any other items, trustees? Okay, with that, do we have a motion?
I would make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with the removal of 14.2.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by trustee Mason, second by trustee Mayo. Any discussion? We'll put that to a vote. Trustee Alas?
Yes.
Trustee Mason?
Yes.
Trustee Mayo?
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin?
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you. All right, so we'll go to consent items pulled for discussion. So item 14.2, review and potential approval of contract with Apex for digital curriculum for secondary core content and electives for summer school 2021, summer 2022, school year 2021-22, and students enrolled in distance learning. All right, so let me give you the floor, Trustee Nzewi, for the item that you pulled.
Yeah, I just wanted to pull this item because if it remained under consent, no one would have any idea what it is or how it'll benefit our students starting this summer and students next year, especially those who remain in distance learning when the school year starts. So that's, I have absolutely no concerns with it. I just would like folks to hear about it so that they know what we're doing to help continue to support students who may be struggling now, and how it can be used in the summer and beyond, and how it can support all students as we move into the new year, and especially those continuing with distance learning at the start of the school year.
Thank you, Trustee Nzewi. So we'll give it to you, Dr. Clark.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Ms. Sachs just talk about it. I mean, I definitely could talk about Apex. I'm very excited that we're moving, you know, full born into Apex and moving away from Cyber High. But I will let Ms. Sachs give it all of its praise.
Well, I appreciate the question. So Apex is a digital curriculum that provides fully online content for students. As we opened up the school year, we realized we did not have a consistent, coherent platform in order to provide online curriculum for our students, and our teachers did a magnificent job pulling together the bits and pieces of our materials that we had available, but we knew that it was a huge gap. As we ended up going through the year, not only were teachers able to pull that together, but what we realized with Cyber High, which is currently being utilized as a credit recovery system, is we needed something more. We not only needed something more for credit recovery, but something for original credit, and something that was tailored, that's something that we could tailor to support the students in the classroom, where teachers had a lot more control. Really, this content we're very excited about, because we're going to be working with our teachers in order to create this wonderful digital content that then they can supplement with their own fabulousness of lessons and thoughts and ideas. So it's not something that is so locked as other programs. We're looking to have this, again, training start very quickly, because we'd like to launch it during summer school. This would be a consistent platform for all students as they go through the summer and then into the fall. We realize that distance learning, even though it's been a challenge for many of our families, for some of our students, it's allowed them to soar. They've really enjoyed the independence. They've enjoyed just, you know, utilizing and being held more accountable to their own learning and being more active, rather than in some situations feeling like they were more of a passive learner. So we want also something available to them, middle school and high school, as we look to the fall, to support families that have decided, you know what, this is the best option for me and our family. So I do appreciate the question, and different than Cyber High, which actually any teacher, regardless of credential, was really able to teach Cyber High. The courses are organized in such a way that a math teacher would be the one best to utilize that curriculum, but they could utilize it for a variety of different courses. So during the summer, we're very excited to try it out at each of our high schools, and we'll let you know how it goes.
Fantastic.
And this is for middle and high school, though, in the fall, right? Yeah. And it does not replace your teacher.
No.
Yeah.
No, a good question. There is no teacher replacement. They are not being, no, not at all. The teacher is actually the most critical individual, you know, to utilize this curriculum, because they, as they look at it, they can tailor it, they can modify it depending on the needs of the classroom. So that was another reason why we felt Apex was a great addition to kind of our toolbox of how we're going to be approaching not only summer, but the fall, because it does allow that level of flexibility, while at the same time, structure and coherence with regards to a digital platform.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sachs. Any other questions on this item? All right, do we have a motion?
I move, sorry, clicking back over, that we, sorry, 14.2, that we approve the contract with Apex for digital curriculum for secondary core content and electives for summer 21-22 and school year 21-22, and students enrolled in distance learning.
I'll second that.
All right, thank you. Motion by Trustee Nzewi, second by Trustee Mason. Any other discussion? All right, we'll put it to a vote. Trustee Alas.
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi.
Yes.
Trustee Mason.
Yes.
Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you very much. And I think that was a great idea to highlight that for our public to be able to see. All right, moving on to our business and action items. 17.1 is review and potential approval of resolution 2021-54, authorization to submit a Carl Moyer bus replacement grant application. Dr. Clark?
Well, I see Mr. Leppy on the call, and I'm waiting to see his bright face pop up. But if it doesn't, I think that this there he is. Look at that.
Hello,
So,
guys.
Mr. Leppy, would you like to just give us a brief update on this item?
What this is a continuation of our bus replacement program that we have started with the 16 electric school buses and infrastructure that we have already started, and the 16 buses are on site now. So that's exciting of the electrics. But we have an aging fleet, and we have 5 transit 40-foot buses that are gross polluters that smoke, and we want to take advantage of the Carl Moyer BACMed grant to be able to apply these buses and replace them with new buses with seat belts, air conditioning, low NOx CNG. So they're not electric. We're going to still stick with an alternative fuel, which is a low NOx CNG that Cummins makes. And it's better for the environment as well, which turns our fleet or continues to keep our fleet in an alternative fuel model. So we're trying to get away from what people like to call dirty diesels, but that's what we're doing.
Leppy, I wasn't sure that you were going to be so technical in your report, so we appreciate that. And
well,
and
my background is automotive. So.
Good. And then also, I'm sure that your drivers are probably preparing for tomorrow, but will you please pass the word that I did recognize them in my report. So I want to thank you and transportation for all that you're doing, not only for the environment, but also, moving our students safely around town.
And I like to say that it is not me, it is my team, it is our schedulers, it is our drivers, it is our support staff. I'm there to help. So, but it is I give all the praise and the glory to my team.
Great.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leppy. That was really great. I do remember last year, right after COVID hit, that our those first electric buses were being unveiled at the site, and unfortunately we couldn't have a bigger celebration of that. So it's great to see the next step happening here to continue to update the fleet. Really appreciate your work there and being able to take advantage of grant opportunities like this.
Of course, thank you.
All right, trustees, does anyone have any questions, or would you like to make a motion?
I would just like to make a comment.
Yes.
Not everyone understands what CNG stands for. It stands for compressed natural gas. And we were a leader in our community many years ago when we installed a CNG natural gas refueling station out at the Bissell Lane location. And since then, we've been operating these buses successfully. And there are other agencies that also use our refueling station. So I don't know whether we make a profit off of that, but we are providing service to other public agencies, which improves the air quality throughout Contra Costa County. So thank you to M&O for continuing this and identifying this particular application for us to apply for 5 new buses.
Thank you very much, Trustee Mayo. Yes.
I would make a motion that we approve the resolution 20/21-54, authorization to submit a Carl Moyer bus replacement grant application.
Second.
All right, thank you. Motion by Trustee Mason, second by Trustee Mayo. Any other discussion? All right, we'll put it to a vote. Trustee Alas.
Yes.
Trustee Mason.
Yes.
Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
Trustee Nzeri.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you very much, Mr. Leppy.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to 17.2, review and potential approval of 2 membership applications for Community Advisory Committee, the CAC.
Yeah, so when I first looked at this item, I thought it was our standing item of adding folks to the BAC, but I got my letters mixed up. A, B, C. So I see Dr. Aguili has popped up, and so she is. If you have any questions, she will entertain those. But we're just looking for consideration of approval of this item.
Trustees, do I hear a motion?
Madam President, I move that the board approve the new membership applications for Community Advisory Committee members, appointing Heather Martin and Rachel Levy as members of the CAC.
Second that.
All right, thank you very much. Motion by Trustee Mayo, second by Trustee Mason. Any discussion? Trustee McFerrin, yes? Did you have discussion? Oh, I thought you unmuted. All right. Okay. We'll put it to a vote. Trustee Alas.
Yes.
Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
Trustee Mason.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
Trustee Nzeri.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Welcome, Heather and Rachel, to the CAC. I know that you will do some great work there. It is a wonderful committee, and bringing new parents on. I know I've been personally familiar with Rachel's advocacy around dyslexia for students in our school district, and so having her experience and perspective on the CAC will be really fantastic. So thank you both for volunteering for that position. All right. Anything else on that item? Okay. All right. Moving on to item 17.3, review and potential approval of charter school facilities final offer, Clayton Valley Charter. Dr. Clark.
Yes, and I see John Ye on the call, and he is. And as you know, Mr. Ye, he has represented the district during our negotiations with Clayton Valley Charter, and so he tonight is looking for consideration of our final offer. And Mr. Ye, I will turn it over to you if you want to introduce this item or if you want to entertain any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Dr. Clark, and good evening, members of the board. This is, I think, a relatively simple item. Under Proposition 39, the charter schools must reapply every year to continue occupying district facilities. This is for the upcoming 21-22 school year.
Mr. Ye, just 1 minute. It's hard to hear you. I don't know if that's just me. Is everyone else having a volume issue? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'll speak louder.
Thank you.
So Clayton Valley is a conversion charter, so there are not too many moving parts here. They are entitled under the law to stay at their site, but they're also obligated to apply every year to occupy the site. So we traditionally have brought this to the board for action every March. So I'll turn it over for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ye. Trustees, questions? Trustee Alas.
I just have one quick clarifying question. Clayton Valley is not authorized under us. They're authorized by the county, right? But they just use our facilities. Okay, gotcha. How many, just off the top, just if you have this number off the top of your head, do we just represent, do we just have Rocket Ship Charter under, this is just related to charters, we just have Rocket Ship Charter under us as MDUSD, correct?
Yes,
No?
Well, we have Eagle Peak as well.
Eagle Peak, gotcha.
And Rocket Ship, starting July 1st of this year, will go convert from the state to the district.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I was curious, thank you.
Any other questions, trustees? No, pretty straightforward. All right. Do we hear a motion?
Madam President, I move the board approve the final offer of facilities to Clayton Valley Charter School for the 21-22 school year.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion by trustee Mayo, second by trustee Mason. Any other discussion? All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
All
you.
right. So we'll put it to a vote. Trustee Alas?
Yes.
Trustee Mayo?
Yes.
Trustee Mason? Trustee Nzewi?
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to 17.4. This is the review and potential approval of the initial successor agreement proposal for Mount Diablo Education Association, Medea, and Mount Diablo Unified School District's initial successor agreement proposal to Medea. Dr. Clark.
Yes, so Dr. Rubio's going to take this item, and I just want to be very clear that this has nothing to do with the MOU. This is our regular contract with our teachers bargaining group. So Dr. Rubio.
Yes, good evening again, everyone. In the last teacher contract that was approved last July or so, there was a stipulation or clause that both parties would, by around the beginning of March, I believe, have their initial proposals presented. So we brought this to the last board meeting as an informational item. We're bringing this back so that it is sunshined or brought out into the open again to the public. And it is here for you tonight, asking for your action and approval for the district's initial proposal. And it does include also the proposal from the teachers union.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rubio. Do we hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we, oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, I will make a motion that we approve the initial successor agreement proposal for Mount Diablo Education Association and Mount Diablo Unified School District. That's it.
I second.
All right, thank you very much. Motion by trustee Mason, second by trustee Nzewi. Any discussion on this item or questions? All right, we will put it to a vote. Trustee Alas.
Yes.
Trustee Mason.
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from student board member. Thank you very much, staff, for being transparent and aligned with the timeline on that process. All right. Item 17.5, informational review of the Memorandum of Understanding with the Clerical, Secretarial, and Technical Unit Local 1, AFSCME CST, for the hybrid learning phase for March 18th, 2021 to June 30th, 2021.
Yep, and I'm gonna turn this over to the HR department in 1 second, but I just want to just recognize the tremendous work and you know, just time commitment that both Dr. Rubio and Dr. Scudero have you know, really put forth in working with our labor partners. It takes a considerable amount of time going back and forth with proposals, finding times to meet, and for you know, for sitting down and actually doing the work, and they're not getting excused from any of the other work that is piling up on their desks and on their computers. And so so again, I just want to thank them, but then I also just want to recognize CST as a you know, as a unit that they provide an invaluable service to the, you know, to our community, to all staff members, to our students. You know, they do tremendous work, and you know, under the leadership of you know, of Carmen, who I know has come and spoke many times before the board. You know, they are a group that has really stepped up during this pandemic and has done what needed to be done. And I just really like the problem solving approach that Dr. Scudero under Dr. Rubio's leadership has really taken with making sure that their concerns were heard and addressed and that we were able to come to an agreement. So again, sorry for that long-winded thing, but I think it really needs to be recognized because, we spend a lot of time talking about Medea and oftentimes we don't spend, equal amount of time talking about another unit that contributes just as much. And so I just really want to take this moment and personally recognize them and thank them for their service to the district. So Dr. Rubio or Dr. Scudero, take it away.
Yeah, I'm going to turn it to Dr. Scudero, and I just want to say thank you, Dr. Clark, and thank you to our negotiating teams on the district side for each of our units. Thank you to the negotiating teams on each side of each unit. As Dr. Clark said, the CST employees and the CSEA employees, they've been there, they've been on the campuses, they've been working, and so we greatly appreciate that. So I appreciate Dr. Clark taking a moment to say that. We've now got agreements with every unit almost except for one, and so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Scudero.
Thank you, Dr. Rubio, and thank you, Dr. Clark. We're bringing for your informational review the Memorandum of Understanding with CST, and we're willing to answer any questions should you have any.
Thank you very much. Trustees, are there any questions? I do not see any questions.
No.
Do we have, this is only informational.
Information,
so,
yeah.
So we don't need a motion. So I would just say thank you so much as well to all involved in the negotiations, as well as, I think our CST staff are some of the very first smiling faces that our students are going to see tomorrow morning. And thank you all for all of the hard work that you've done. You've been the smiling faces on our campuses that people have seen when they need to drop off or pick up or things like that this whole year. So we appreciate you. We know that you're an important piece, a crucial piece of what happens on our campuses for our students and for everybody actually. So thank you. Thank you very much. All right, item 17.6. This is our last item on the agenda. All right. The review and potential approval of the employment agreement between Mount Diablo Unified School District and the Chief Business Officer. Dr. Clark.
So I'm bringing this item forward for potential board approval. I would like to continue the services of our CBO. It is a 1-year contract, and we're almost at the tail end of the first year contract, and so this is a totally separate contract. And I'm asking the board to consider approving this recommendation that I'm bringing forward.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Do I hear a motion?
Madam President, I would move that the board approve the employment agreement between the Mount Diablo Unified School District and the Chief Business Officer as detailed in the attached contract and for the term of 1 year.
Thank you, Trustee Mayo. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Alas. Motion by Trustee Mayo, second by Trustee Alas. Any discussion? Okay, we'll put it to a vote. Trustee Alas.
Yes.
Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
Trustee Mason.
No.
And I also vote yes. So motion passes 4-1 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you. Sorry, without the screen, I have to think about how to report out our votes. All right. Thank you. That's so moving on, we have no carryover from closed session. And future agenda items, item 20.1. Yes, Dr. Clark.
I have some. Today I had a meeting with a CSBA consultant who is not working. She does both. She puts on board trainings under CSBA, but then she also does board trainings on her own. And so I spoke with her about coming in and doing some governance work with this board and also some equity work with this board that I believe will help us as a governance team move forward with our mission to be equitable leaders and really to work with a facilitator who can help us in going forward with ensuring that equity becomes a reality within our district. And so I'm bringing this up because at the next meeting, I'm going to bring forward a contract for potential approval, but also that if the contract is approved, I'm looking at some dates in the end of April. In the end of April for us to start this process, and so we would do this work in the form of a study session. So whether we do it in the evening from 5 to 8, or whether we do it on a Saturday or whatnot, it would be a study session, board training, and we would have approximately 4 of these scheduled out starting in the end of April. So I just wanted to bring that forward as a future, not necessarily, it will be a future agenda item, but also for future board governance training.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clark. That's great to hear.
I appreciate that information, and I saw Ms. Alas looking at you. I think she might have been thinking the same thing I was, the coordination of our student board member that's premature to our appointment. But since these are open to the public, individuals could attend to hear the conversations that are being done by the board. They're not done in closed session unless that's a change in practice, because they've always been in the open session before.
Well, of course, we would discuss that, but Trustee Alas is part of this governance team, and so we would definitely want her.
Right.
Yeah.
But I meant for future, for next year's board members.
Right.
There's a crossover there.
Yes.
So
Yes.
just being mindful.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and again, this is a journey that we're going to be on for the next several years. And I also wanted to just put out to the board on this same topic and related to this is that CSBA is doing their, maybe President Cowan can help me with the exact terminology.
Masters in governance.
It's not the
The
masters,
equity.
it's the equity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the equity training and the signups have already closed, but they did say they were going to keep them open one more day. And so if there's any trustees that are interested in that, the same person who's putting on that is the same person who I'm looking at bringing in to provide us training. But sometimes it's very valuable for trustees to be able to go through a training with other trustees from other districts and hear ideas of how other people are dealing with some of the challenges that we're facing, or just ways how to really lead with an equity lens. So again, just some work coming forward in future meetings, and I'm very excited about this, and I think that that the time is appropriate for us to start digging into this.
Thank you, Dr. Clark.
Not necessarily the next meeting, but sometime at a future meeting, I would really be interested in hearing from someone from our CARES program to see how they're adapting and how it's working out for them under our new structure. After school program.
Yeah.
The CARES after school program. Yes, absolutely. Particularly in how to best create a full day where possible for working parents.
And even if they have any kind of plans yet or are thinking anything around summer.
Okay, I have that down.
I have a couple things that I know Trustee Nzui continues to mention this, which is support for SB 14. I'm not sure if we can issue some sort of letter of support or board resolution, but furthermore, I was talking to Dr. Aguili, and we have In our in AR, we have Administrative Regulation 5113 states what our attendance policy is, essentially saying that it is, you know, up to the discretion of prerogative of administration at different school sites, and that there is that leeway to allow students to, you know, when a mental health dilemma or mental health crisis interferes with functioning of a student and an inability to go to school and an inability to perform well in class, that absence does indeed count as a personal illness. However, that is under the that is under a sense of the jurisdiction of admin at different sites. So I think that is something that we can push out a little bit more. So if that would be in the form of another resolution. Not quite sure what can be done there, and maybe this isn't something that even happens at a meeting, and this is just more communication, but just more efforts to relay and communicate how our attendance policy helps students and helps students in mental health issues, and also in support of SB 14, which is excuse mental health days for public school students.
Okay, thank you. So I'm hearing the contract and the with the equity consultant, as well as a report from the CARES team, and the topic of mental health and attendance, potentially with SB 14, if it's, as Trustee Nzeri says, if it survives through appropriations. Absolutely. Okay, any other future agenda items? I think also from Trustee Alas, you have the civic
State seal civic engagement. Yes,
seal of civic engagement.
Yes, if we can totally present, I'd be even more than happy to present that as an info item. I know that there's a team of avid teachers, history, social science teachers that are meeting in order to develop criteria and develop a civic engagement plan, so that we're not just throwing the criteria out there to students, but there are opportunities available for students to be civically engaged from not just in high school, but from a young age as well. So K through 12 avenues to civic learning, and that has looked different in different districts. So that is in development. I would love to present it as an information item or sometime in the near future. Yeah.
Okay, so fantastic. Future agenda item when it's ready. Glad to hear that's in development out there. Any other future agenda items that people wanted to mention? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. All right, so we wanted to adjourn the meeting at the request of Trustee Mayo in memory of Major General Daniel Helix. Trustee Mayo, would you like to do the closing?
I apologize, I don't understand. I don't have the gavel.
Oh, I just meant you had more of a description of Mr. Helix that you said earlier in the meeting. I didn't know if you wanted to also repeat that here at the closing.
Right, thank you. We would close the meeting in memory of Daniel C. Helix, Major General and former Concord City Council Mayor. He died at the age of 81 on March 9th. He rose to the rank of Major General in the U.S. Army and served on a congressional commission, authored a novel, and once received an offer to play professional baseball. Throughout his life, when I knew him, he was a pro-civil rights. He had a pro-civil rights attitude towards all minorities, and he was a strong proponent of public education. And he worked very closely with Mount Diablo School District 12. He and his wife, Mary Lou Helix, resided in Concord. And he was a co-chair of our 1988 Measure A Mello-Roos bond, and he was a gentleman to work with. So I respectfully request that we close in his memory.
Thank you very much, Trustee Mayo. Much appreciated. All right, with that, we are adjourning the meeting here at 9:25.